Welcome, 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 everybody. This is it. This is it. I mean, first of all, we're glad to have you here today, tonight, depending on what what time zone you live in. But I'm just glad we have you here for the beginning of the end. That's right. As we always say, all good things must come to a close, and that does mean that the DPL Winter Major 2022 will come to a close tonight, and it's gonna get nasty. The returning kings of the ring, all right, the runners of the gauntlet, GB, will be here tonight, but it was no easy feat for them to get here. No, 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 no. They started off strong in week one, going up against Moonboat Crew. 7-1 game one, 7-1 game two. Absolutely smurfed it. They speed ran it and moved on to week two, where they faced up against Gnomes. But they ran into a bit of a complication. Game one, GB loses. Gnomes win it 7-4. Game two, they tie it 6-6. People are like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on? I thought GB were the kings. And Gnomes is like, no, sir. We're here to take them out. Game three, GB wins, and then it all goes downhill from there. Gnomes tie the overtime first game, and then they win overtime game two, and they send GB packing and into the losers bracket. That being said, in there, they had to go up against Yakuza. GB realizing, damn, we're gonna have to fight our way to the top, and fight they did. They go 7-3 game one, 7-1 game two, sending it right over to week three, where they faced off against Danger Doodles. Once again, wasn't too hard for them. Went 7-3 game one, they win that. They tie game two, they win game three, and then they have one final shot to secure themselves a spot in the finals, as we saw yesterday when they went up against Gnomes. Gnomes win that first game. Things are looking bad for GB, but their savior, a shining light, the Guardian, comes. Akazo joins in game two, and they manage to flip the scripts and win 7-2. Then they take it into overtime, and they're able to win, and they secure themselves a spot. One more final shot, one last breath to get themselves that championship. However, it's not going to be easy because they're going up against Kitura, a team who, dare I say, are the underdogs this time around. They had, I mean, it's been a fight for them. They started off against Yakuza week one. Things were not looking good in game one. They lose 7-3. People were writing them off. They're like, these guys are a bunch of nobodies. Get them out of here. But then they realize, okay, we might have a shot in this. They're able to flip things around. Game two, they win 7-5. They tie game three. They win overtime. They send Yakuza packing. Move on to week two, where they go up against Danger Doodles. Once again, game one, they're kind of showing that they got some nerves to work through. They get absolutely decimated. They lose 7-2. But then all of a sudden they're like, hold up, we can't keep doing this. And they just wipe the floor with Danger Doodles. They win 7-2, and then they win 7-3 and move on to week three, where they go up against Gnomes. A very, very close match, to say the least. They win game one 7-4. Game two comes around, they tie it 6-6. Game three comes around, and they tie it once again to 6-6. But it was enough points for them to send Gnomes down into the losers bracket to do their dirty work for them and take out GB. But the assassination attempt failed, and now Kitura faces against Global Breakout for this final battle. These last 3 weeks, all the hardships that these teams face together, it all comes down to tonight. This final match for the $1,000 prize pool is going to get messy. And so when you got the best of the best, you got to bring the best of the best. So I have with me the one and only, first of all, fellow, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
After that intro, I'm definitely amped up and ready to get this show on the road. And you immediately disappeared, but came back at just the right time. You had me worried for a second. He made his immaculate introduction and then had to vanish off the spot because he could not overtop that. I think that's a lie. You could definitely bring us in later on in a much better effort too, although that was pretty tough to beat, to be brutally honest with you. Yeah, it's been a pretty long yet enjoyable ride, to say the least, and I mean, I'm just glad we've been able to bring through this journey with all of us, and, today I'm gonna be also on observation duty as well, so I'll be really eyeing in, sorry, for this matchup here, but oh man, there's a lot of emotions going on for both myself and probably everyone up here in the booth us here for Prod, along with all 10 players. You mentioned it perfectly with the henchman role there for the gnomes because Kitura, I feel like they're gonna be a bit concerned despite the fact they have a map advantage that they still might have a pretty tough time dealing with technically the best team inside of due process here, Echo.
Absolutely. And real quick, our eye in the sky is telling us that they are cute. So real quick, we'll get this last introduction out of the way. We got the one and only Boxy. How you doing today, man? What's going on?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. I'm super excited. Like you said, it all comes down to this. This is the matchup. It's a best of five, and I'm super excited. Global Breakout are the total. They've had total dominance established in this game for quite a while now. But on the other hand, you have Kitura, the absolute underdogs, and they will try and take off maybe the championship title off of GB. So I'm super excited for all of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's get predictions underway real quick. What are we thinking, boys? Is it gonna be the underdogs, or is the king gonna stay on his throne tonight, fellow? What do you think, brother?
Man, I think having that crown knocked off of GB's head, I think it was a major wake-up call, so I don't think they're gonna be as I guess as unprecautious
Mm,
dredging the waters here
okay,
against their EU brethren of Katura. I think they are going to take this one quite seriously and really put their best foot forward going up against Katura. I think they'll win this one out, but it is going to be a bloody war between these two teams.
okay, okay. Boxy, what do you think, man?
I really think GB ends up taking it, but pretty much like Fella said, I think it's going to be very tight, at least in the beginning. I do feel like once Global Breakout gets their momentum going, I do think they prevail,
Mm,
but it may take a while for them to actually, start it up to load into the game. We've
okay.
seen that quite a few times.
Okay, gotta have some blind faith in the underdogs, and I will have exactly that. I'd be damned if I can't support my
Ooh,
boy Dylan. Okay, call me
gotta love
biased
Dylan.
fraud, but it is what it is. My boy's gonna win this for me. I
Nah,
can feel it. That being said, though, there is really only one way to find out, and that is to get into the damn game itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off and send you two into the game, and I'll see you guys after game one.
sounds like a date, Echo. I guess it'll be you and yeah, myself, Boxy. I thought I got that wrong at first, but no, I did not. Apparently, my map is bugged, so I bet chat's having a blast looking at this very interesting map. I think I actually have to close my game because of this bug, or I
Okay.
just no, actually no, I can leave the game and then just requeue. So this will only take a couple seconds here, or
Okay.
maybe I have to restart my entire match. Oh,
Yeah, just
maybe maybe not.
apologies for the delay, by the way. So I know we're kind of late. We've both had some technical issues in prod and on the player side, but I think all of that should be fixed. We also got Melvin joining, so he'll take over map observing in just a second. But
Yeah.
until then, I guess I'll just keep talking about the game while Fellow restarts his. So on Kitura, we have Roach, Dylan, Muse, Jet, and Merchant playing. On Global Breakout, it's the starting lineup of Argo, Ikazo, Domzi, Plebdo, and SaChi. So what you all expected. No subs, no, wild cards, nothing special. But we'll see where this goes. And the first tile set, the first map of the day of the series will be Kill House, and it's a pretty big one. I'm very curious to see what the attackers decide to do here. It does look like they will be pushing reception primarily, but they could also end up breaching one of the red doors. Though I honestly don't think that pushing either really gives you much that you can just get when you walk in reception. We will see. It looks like Global Breakout will just be using the Saber to try and spawn peek towards the truck. And they need to be careful there not to break any rules regarding the tiles and the truck and the spawn peeking. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, unfortunately, my game doing a massive amount of trolling here for round number one. I had to completely restart my game, so now I'm loading back up into due process. Thankfully, we also have Gundam in here
There we
on the
go.
observation, so that's not a big deal at all. So we can still actually get to watch the game unfold in front of us. EK back on his favorite sniper rifle of that mop. He did a lot of damage when he finally managed to make his way back into the match. And, speaking of comfort weapons, Argo's rocking that full auto as well. Really nothing too shocking here, but that is a very high risk having both of those power weapons all the way on round number one. If both of those get dropped and cannot be recovered for the next round, that could be a huge issue moving forward. But luckily, it appears that GB will actually net that first pick and are starting
There
off
we
with a
go.
huge
Oh.
impact. There's Argo coming out of the gate, swinging with 3 big picks with the full auto, and already Musi has to fall back and just try to hope that he can bait for some kills here.
It's a 1v5. He can, like you said, he can just kind of bait. The pistol is out now. He's out of ammo on the AP, on the Vector. He swings with the pistol, doesn't actually connect any. A bit of wall banging. just to seal the deal. He still has a flashbang, but at this point, you might just save it. There we go. Plepto falls, but it's too little, too late. He also gets Ikazo, though, and now the Saber will, or sorry, excuse me, the mob will actually get picked up, though he doesn't have any bullets, I believe, and Domzi on the run out will finish him off. Get zapped in return, but it doesn't matter. It's still Argo and SaChi both survive. So just, I really like the play from Muse there. It's not that he wanted the mob for himself, it's that he wanted Global Breakout not to be able to pick it up, and that is how they lose it on round 1. So, what a round from Global Breakout to start it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just Argo picking the perfect time to go swing wide, find pretty much as much damage as he needed. 3 entire picks. That is just about 450 damage, give or take, depending if there were any wall banks connected on either 3 of those attackers. And both a door charge and a clacker being carried over by Argo as well. That is a heaping amount of damage that you can actually implement. You could probably put that on the green door inside of server room and perhaps catch somebody off guard. If no one peeks out near this blue window, they could be completely unaware of your intentions, and that could give you a free pick to for pretty much little to no effort because you were able to bring over that huge amount of utility from the past round.
Yep. Okay, and we are on Factory, so what do you think happens here, fellow? It is a pretty big one, and once again, all of the central part of the map is super connected, pipework, stock, that's all one big room with just a few obstacles in the way. Also, the Fen, the red doors in Toxic, and then the green ones in Server. What do you think they go for?
Um, I think that Toxic you really don't get a lot of value out of. Also, Gundam, just to let
Mhm.
you know as well, my observation is actually back up and reading. I don't know if you're using that right now, but just figured I'd break the fourth wall and let you know that, not via DM, since I am #1monitor gang, make my life a whole lot easier.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
god.
don't think you really get a lot outside of Toxic. It's a very risky place to actually enter in as well, because if you accidentally fall into the toxic goo, you die. So it's
Yep.
best not to risk that. Fan, you can get a couple of nice sight lines, maybe have someone play for this cutoff angle here if someone's holding server room quite heavily, and you could potentially just walk down and get instant control of pipework if someone's able to shoot that out from the back double door. That's not a bad sight line to hold at all, especially if you have that saber, so maybe Musi will be playing there later in the round perhaps, or just rotate around later on once they finally break open that fan to play in those really potent positions with that sniper rifle.
Yeah, like you said, Saber's still on the table and Jet will bring it, so having him on the fan may not be the worst idea, especially if the attackers plan on pushing server from. Once you get to those doors at the top of server from, you can just shoot it out easily, like you pointed out. Toxic, I agree with you, just not much value. Dog Blow also does provide quite a few interesting sidelines. You can contest the one office push, or rather the one office doors looking towards stock. You can also hold the pipes. And you see the bomb from there as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's also not a bad way to go. But we'll see Kitura funneling towards those green doors and just trying to get an entry. But Argo will be the first one of contention there, along with SaChi and Plepto, both at his side.
Ooh, there's a flashbang. No one's able to push off immediately, though. It's a fallback, and because no one's playing on that fan, it was a pretty easy fallback as well. You had Domzi holding that angle, but you could
Oh,
potentially play near that back right-hand side and really not be contested towards that, but a decent amount of map control being gathered so far. This wall charge detonation is bound to happen in just a few short moments. Once that'll detonate, SaChi will have to most likely go for some sort of Molotov toss out to just burn through some time, but really it's only a matter of moments before they actually hit the light
oh,
switch
nice.
and a lot of pressure because of that. There's a one-for-one trade in the middle of the bomb site, but it appears that Kitura, they're still in the lead 3v2.
Yeah, Plepto gets one on the fan. He swings in server farm, but Roach will take him out. It's all up to Argo in the 1v2. He gets the first one, and he knows where the second one is. It's a 1v1 now, but he has the neck. He drops it for the AK, and Roach has his job cut out for him. It's an AK versus an AK, a long versus a short KR, and it's just who hits the shots. Roach is on low HP as well, and Argo just needs to sit patiently. He knows where he is. He can just play time. There we go. Argo swings. He gets Roach, and that is 2-0 for Global Breakout.
Yeah, pretty impressive stuff by GB. It was a very close call yet again, but so much utility already being expended. I mean, losing both those rounds and having to bring out clackers on round number 1 and 2, they have to go free on the next map/tile set. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a huge net buff there for GB. That could almost guarantee another round on the board in the first quarter, unless it's a map that is very favorable to go for a free take.
Yeah, agreed. And, Global Breakout, they have taken the mental note of Kitura losing both clackers. They will be holding the green doors, and it's gonna be Beach, which is, you can just stack up on Beach as a defender, so I guess at least that's what Kitura has going on for them, but you can still swing the slits from base, you can still just kind of not focus on any of the red doors. So Global Breakout are in such good predisposition, like you said, to just finish it off perfectly with a 3-0 start here. And it's not going as well as many would have hoped for Kitura. I said the Global Breakout would win. I still want Kitura to do well. They are the absolute underdog, and the fact they've gotten this far is mind blowing to me. And I would like to see them put on a good fight against GB today, even if I think GB ultimately takes it. So the fact that they're currently about to be 3-0 down, most likely, is not making me very happy, fellow.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think the only thing that's really making me happy is how well GB are going to try to implement this barbed wire plan, knowing the fact that everyone has to go bombard themselves into green. This is a pretty funny play. It's kind of like trench warfare. I believe Melvin and Shark actually made that joke the other day, where you just have a stack of barbed wire against a pretty heavy choke point, and you just kind of spray in what, maybe have a couple of mollies to toss into it. And they also have a single set of barbed wire on towards the green doorway. So I feel like a lot of attackers are going to want to have that false sense of security and be like, all right, let's just kind of try to trudge our way inside of pit and maybe hope for the best, despite the fact we can't hit the light since we just tried utilizing that last round. But then they're going to have to run into Argo at the full auto, which is never a fun sight to behold at all, Boxy.
Definitely agreed. And no grenades on the side of Kitura makes this even harder, because whatever they want to push, they will have to funnel through those barbed wires. And I think this round is over before it started. But let's see, maybe, just maybe, GB gets cocky. They, lose their gunfights. They swing too much, and they ended up being punished for it. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. I was replying back to Gundam. Apparently Melvin is actually here. He just won't be in the Discord call, which is all right. We still appreciate him being here, able to do his job. So big shouts to Melvin, and also for doing a very good job on the color commentary the other day for the losers finals. But we'll kick back into round number 3. Once again, this basically complete choke point, like I said, of this barbed wire is going to be pretty much hell on earth. There's a smoke grenade to allow ease of access inside of base, but they still have to deal with Argo, who is pretty dang close right next to this green doorway. I believe a couple of pop shots landed into him through the blue door, but doesn't really seem to phase him all that much. He's still playing quite close and is honestly just waiting for someone to trudge through that barbed wire to get that audible call to manage to find this first pick. There might be a chance of a refrag once this happens, but the patience here by Argo is so impressive. The perfect time to push out. Down goes Jet, looks for another, but cannot get it. A man advantage here for the attacking side of Kitura, but they still have so much to do in these next 50 seconds.
And it really feels like GB put all their eggs in one basket, with just Argo holding, the pit. And losing him so early on, yes, he did get one, but I don't know. I feel like pit is now Kitura's for the taking. They've done exactly that, and now Domzi's the next point of contention. He will have to fall back. He spots at least 2, if not 3, of the players in pit, and he needs to fall back. Clap gets 1, Domzi gets 1. Muse refrags though, and it is a 2v2 at the moment. Roach is now all alone. He taps the bomb. The mollies are coming out as well, and it's all up to EK and Plebdo to clutch it out. They just need to play time, and they still kill Roach. 3-0, like you said, fellow.
Yeah, really strong stuff so far by GB. I mean, I mentioned it during the host and analyst desk part of the game that they were not here to play around. They were going to take this as seriously as humanly possible. No funny business at all. It's just business here for Global Breakout so far in that first quarter. 3-0. That is a pretty impressive start. And normally GB, they're the team that kind of falters and is a bit slow slash, kind of weak in the first quarter, even the first half, depending on who you ask. So to start out match number 1, 3-0, that's pretty damn impressive.
They may be considered the titans of the scene at the moment, but they've definitely not had an easy few weeks. EK has had his power cut out for the last few days. Yesterday, he had to play the lower finals from a hotel room because that's the only place he could actually turn on his PC. SaChi's audio went out completely in the warm-up scrim just before this game. Stuff just keeps going wrong for them, but somehow they keep bringing it back and they keep clutching it out. And, this literally applies to this game as well. Even when they lose the man advantage or the early advantage overall, they still somehow bring it back. They clutch it up. They get the refrags that they need, and they started off perfectly. And now we're waiting for Kitura to wake up and to start actually answering the calls of GB, because they're currently 0-3 down, and they were the underdogs, like I've said multiple times before, but they still are the team that, came to the grand finals through the upper bracket. They hadn't lost a single match. They went undefeated throughout the major, and they're just not playing like that at the moment.
Yeah, I think that Kitura, they just need a little bit of time to wake up, kind of smell the roses and remind themselves that this is the grand final and they could be crowned as the best team currently inside of DPL if they're able to play their
Yep.
cards right. And there is still more than enough time to adapt and change their play style. Now, this is a very high risk and high reward strat being implemented here by GB. The double charge set
Oh.
already on technically round number 1 because we are in a new split. It is a pretty straightforward attack, clearly. It's direct access to the room with the bomb inside of it, and you could, if there are some well-timed smokes and flashes, to go for some sort of plant early on. And there isn't a heavy site presence here so far by Kitura. They've got Jet with a tub and Merchant with a Gruber and Molotov in pocket. Dylan is playing quite close as well, so maybe he'd go for wall bangs, as that's one of the biggest factor of Kill House is how well you can wall penetrate. And with that first red door going off, I feel like they're almost completely aware that we're going to see some sort of tomfoolery here directly inside of the site. That's exactly what happens. It's an instant detonation, a crossfire. Down goes Dylan. Here comes the rush. Merchant tries to stop it. He'll manage to find a couple. This has been a great defense so far by Kitura. The only one left to stand is Plebdo, and he is just trapped inside of Kitchen. That will be his inevitable grave and tombstone now, as Kitura will take this first round on their defense quite well.
I was gonna mention it, but there was just no time. The round happened so fast. I was gonna say that I'm kind of worried about GB breaching both the doors and the wall pretty much consecutively, just because as soon as the red doors are breached, the defenders in the side are gonna know what's up, and it's gonna be wallbang galore onto those red doors, and that is exactly what happened. But yet, I think it was Argo and someone else just sprinted and lost half of their HP off the bat without even getting to fire off a shot, and they already started round off with a disadvantage on their side. And I don't know, if you're gonna blow red doors, at least wait some time, get out a few mollies, the wallbangs, the work. Don't just sprint in there. But GB wanted to be done with the round so quickly, they apparently forgot about that and ended up costing them the round. But it was a flawless one, or near flawless one rather, from Kitura to finally get a round of their own. And let's see if they can do the same thing on the factory. They are
Now,
already, yeah.
oh no, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to point out, now that we are heading into factory, no wall charge play, I feel like they should go green here, because I don't think that GB want to deal with the same funnel and choke point that they ended up implementing on Dome. But what are your thoughts here for this actual tile set here of a factory?
Oh, so first of all, we can see the GB are contemplating a toxic push, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I agree with you. Server farm makes a lot of sense. You can establish control pretty easily. It's not too heavily contested. There's only one door going in office and then one going into pipe works. And once you get control of server farm, you can shoot out the fan and someone can come in from there as well. Probably your saber or black tower player. Plus there are lights in office. So green door here on paper, at least to me, makes a lot of sense. But GB do seem like they are opting to actually take the clacker, risk it all for the biscuit, and push Toxic out, which doesn't make the most sense to me, especially because Kitura do seem ready for it. The barbed wires are being placed, or at least contemplated, in that direction, and that is exactly what will happen. So I do want to see what happens here, but also having the wall charge up for the dog push, I think, would be optimal for GB. Sadly, they ended up wasting it last time around. And they may just end up getting a taste of their own medicine if Kitura reads into it, and if they, do the same barbed wire play on Killdome.
I feel like going for Toxic here is still relatively risky, especially if they don't clear out office properly. I mean, you can just lock down this single doorway from the top of office stairs pretty easily, especially since it's barbed wire right there. You can have someone like Roach swing this way as well to have, a refrag in case your player in the top of office stairs for some god-given reason dies. And Merchant is playing in a very precarious position as well. He's right next to these barrels stacked up inside of Toxic. If no one flashes close, or even checks their immediate left. This could be a free set of kills for Merchant. So far, though, it's not going to be that initial tag inside of Toxic. It's a long angle by Roach, I believe it to be, to deal almost full damage onto EK as he's now on 10 HP.
Yeah, he will have to take his gunfights very carefully for the game. He does have the Saber, which allows him to, you know, kind of do those longer range gunfights throughout the round, but that's not going to be enough. Pleb gets the entry onto Merchant, though, and mollies are coming out, smokes are coming out, so are the flashes. EK is free-firing onto Roach. They know there's at least one player in Dog, but are they aware of all three? There's only one in server farm. Argo gets one, Domzi gets a second one, and it's all up to Dylan and Jet to try and clutch it out as they're just stuck on the right side of Dog. The flashes are coming out as well, and they're being pushed out by the players of GB.
Huge oversight by GB on this round. Dylan's the only one left. He'll try to salvage out the mop, but cannot do it. Then it'll now be claimed in the hands of Argo. Both snipers in the pocket of GB, and big problem there that we saw by Kitura was how, yes, their toxic setup was phenomenal, but they completely ignored server farm. The only one close to green was Musi, and he was watching pretty much this angle that I was talking about. No one was watching their back. They completely tunnel visioned into toxic, and it allowed complete control of Pipeworks and the back part of the map, and that allowed a quick ease of access point by toxic as well. Once Merchant had ended up falling, it was a fantastic read by GB to notice the weak spots there by Kitura, but they should not have allowed, Kitura being, of course, they should not have allowed green room to be taken that easily.
Yeah, we were talking about how toxic, at least to us, doesn't make a lot of sense, and how green just, you know, on paper sounds so good. There's easy access to shut the fan in case you have anyone watching those angles. There's lights very close. It's pretty hard to contest server as well with the doors and the rotates that were there. So just completely ignoring it, so placing down a barb and saying like, hey, we'll be good with this one barb, doesn't sit right with me, and it seems like an oversight on the side of Kitura, and I really hope that they wake up. But if they have been marking their utility down, or rather GB's utility down, they will know that GB is now out of the door charges and out of clackers as well. Or rather, I think they saved the clacker, but it doesn't end up mattering because there's no door or wall charges. They used 2 on round 1 of the set and then 1 last round. So again, you could see a lot of barbed wire player. You could do the same thing that GB did because that ended up working out really well for them. It's just a matter of what Kitura will do with their remaining utility. They will use at least 1 barbed wire there in pit, but also I'm not sure if GB have actually brought out their NVGs last round, so GB could go for a nice lights play here in case they haven't.
Yeah, and also we can, notice this quite easily. There's a grenade on the board still. That was something Kitura were not able to bring out. So all that barbed wire stacked up, they couldn't deal with it properly. They had to attempt to funnel in essentially towards pit. Even when GB have to funnel, at least they'll have that, insurance policy of having the grenade, and they can contest these long angles pretty well because they have double snipers. I mean, the best that Kitura are bringing so far is a big AK in the hands of Merchant. Everyone else is pretty much Gruber ganging. So this is not a pretty situation, despite the fact that GB have to go free. Again, you look at map/tile sets that are really viable to go free, and Kildome is one of those top tile sets where you can go free a whole 5-man push and still get away with a round win, depending on what util you have on the table besides that hard destruction. So I would really be on my toes here if I were Kitura.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And like you said, Saber and Mob both in hands of Domzi and Ikaza respectively, so you need to be extra careful. If I'm not mistaken, there were 3 bullets left in the Mob last round, and as Plebdo always says, that's 3 kills. So gotta be careful, gotta take your fights, gotta swing angles when you're sure that no sniper is watching you, and I'm not sure if they'll do that. I thought for a second that Roach was just gonna kick the red doors and spawn peek out, and that would have been a very viable strategy, actually. I think he could have at least gotten some chip damage down, but he will not decide to do so. Beach Green gets kicked, and the 5-man of Global Breakout is slowly taking beach and base control.
Sometimes something can be better than nothing, of course. That's the no-brainer here, but already there's plenty of map control being established by GB. Not a lot of pressure, though, in towards base, so that only does make sense. I think the first bit of confrontation we might see between these two teams is probably Musi. He's the closest one near pit. It's either going to be him or Merchant swinging first. Merchant actually falls back, and so will Musi as the flashes pop on out. The lights have been hit, and I'm not too sure if there have actually been a lot of flares set up here by the defense. This could be a couple of free picks, depending on how aggressive we see GB go in these next short moments. Dylan will actually fall back as well. They gave away observation for free, essentially. The only one attempting to defend that part of the map is Merchant, and that could be a huge oversight in these last 50 seconds.
A lot of utility has already come out. There's only one molly on the side of the defenders, and it's on Muse. Domzi gets the mob shot, and it's Dylan that will fall to it. Roach did get EK, though, so it's a 1-for-1 trade, and at least the Saber is off the hands of the attackers. 40 seconds left. Kitura have been stalling well. Jet gets one as well, and that is Flebdo that falls. Argo gets one. Merchant gets the refrag, and a second one. That is Domzi that falls. It's all up to SaChi to clutch it out in a 1v3 against all odds. He's in pit. He needs to push. The lights are pulled. He just kicks the red door for some reason, sprints back, gets taken out by Merchant, and that is 3 for him on the table throughout the round as Kitura somehow, someway claw their way back into a 2-4 half.
Yeah, the team play there by Kitura was spot on considering the circumstances they were put in. They always had multiple people going for the same angle. They had refrag capabilities time in and time out. And we didn't see that exact same play style as well by GB. I feel like personally, trying to go for the backside of pit into observation would have been the best idea, despite the fact they had a Saber and Mop in play, which would allow you to go for long-range gunfights with relative ease, especially with the lights being hit as well and your
Yep.
whole team having NVGs and a Saber. But that doesn't mean everyone should be pushing in towards the open part of the map. You should be trying to go around inside of pit. If you clear out that top part, that is direct access onto the bomb. You can start tricking the bomb as well. And if you have a big AK player or your Saber player up in your observation, they can actually contend with those long angles in the back of ruins to actually provide really strong coverage to actually get that round as a win just by baiting out the defuse there. But we'll move now into Bank, the next map here on the board, and next tile set 2 for both these teams as we now digress into the second half with a 4-2 split. Not horrible, but we have seen some pretty strong stuff by Kitura, so I think they'll be able to even this out a bit more once we get through the rest of the second half.
Yeah, it looks like they're finally starting up. It's like an old car, you know, it takes a second, but once it does, it keeps going. So let's see if they can actually, like you said, tie it up. But they have to defend Bank first. And it's a pretty interesting Bank. The Vault is in the lobby, but the button is in accounting. So they're kind of close together. Once you get to the button, you know, your way back to Vault is pretty free, given that you've cleared out lobby before. But there's also room for manager play. There's also room for whole play from the defenders. So I honestly don't know what they end up doing here. I do think you end up breaching lobby, though, as an attacker. I guess we'll see.
SaChi trying to pretend there is no script. If this is actually correct, I might need to throw mine away. I was religiously studying that all night while also clicking on Dragon's Jump, a very fun and innovative game actually on JavaScript. Do not open that link. It is actually a scammeroonie. So please do not follow in my footsteps and almost get you baited minutes before going live on broadcast. Fun fact of the day. And I think also another quick little fun fact, I'm not too sure if we actually have a wall charge in play. I'll scan through everyone real quickly for a second on the attack.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. They were opting to potentially go and breach open this left side wall. That way they don't have to run in through security. But I feel like that's personally just a waste of utility. So it's best to only bring out one charge here for round number 7. And then they can kind of get a feel for these next couple of tile sets in play. And maybe they could implement some wacky wall charge later on in one of those next couple of rounds.
Oh, Hughes is playing in lobby without much help, and he will be the first one to get taken out by Fleb. Roach gets one of his own, but Musi is out for the round. Argo loses a lot of HP. He's on 1, and Merchant finally takes him down. He's been doing a lot of the work for his team today, and it's still Dylan playing his security as Merchant contemplates rotating around, but ultimately ends up falling back to security. Domzi, SaChi, Pleb, though, all funnel on the same angle, pushing into accounting. But Jet is going to push up with the mop, and he's not going to kill Domzi just yet, but he is on 15 HP, and Domzi nades himself. We've given a lot of smack talk to Argo for nading himself a while back, and now I guess Domzi gets the same. Dylan gets one onto Pleb as well, and it's all up to SaChi on very, very low HP with the AP. Gets one, but it's still 2 pushing him right outside the doors he's at the moment, fellow. Can he get at least one more?
It's possible, especially if Merchant's the one to peek him, but he's the farthest away from all this action instead of accounting. It's a tag team by Roach and Dylan to end out round number 7 as a win for Kitura. And first of all, good catch. And second of all, the push in general by GB just seemed very disorganized once they got into lobby. And it wasn't even the fact they struggled to have those gunfights inside of accounting. It was getting inside of accounting in general and not being able to take care of the players that were stacked
Yep.
up in security shooting through TSA, and also the just general poking and prodding that was seen inside of lobby. If their flashes or if their timing even was better, that could have been a very decisive victory by GB. Unfortunately, Kitura, they kind of went for their fallback strategy. They got a little bit aggressive in the beginning and then knew when to calm down. So they played really well on that bank set, and they're actually able to bring over both the Saber and Mop now into
Mhm.
C-Store. This is going to be hell on earth for GB, especially if they want to go for a shutter play.
Agreed. Before we get onto C Store, and I know I need to be quick, I just want to point out that while GB were extremely disoriented, I also kind of want to take a second to critique Musi because he was the only player really contesting the lobby. He was playing close to the doors. He was on the Ingmar, which is an extremely slow firing weapon. Yes, it deals damage, but you know that if they go lobby, there'll be 3, 4, maybe even 5 people funneling through those doors with flashes, and you will not be able to do much with the Ingmar. So playing there without any support from your teammates, I just think you know better than that, man. Please, please, for the love of God. You ended up winning the round, but I don't think you'll get a second chance if you give him an opening like that. But C-Store, like you said, fellow, are available to the defenders. Will they use both? Probably not, but maybe, as the last map is actually Kill House, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe bring out both on C-Store. Maybe not a bad idea. What do you think?
You know, if Lumberyard is inside of a Kill House, then it would be a really good sniper map. It kind of depends on how well you can either A, spawn peek on Kill House, or B, how
Mhm.
big some of the rooms are inside of Kill House. But
Yeah.
you're not gonna have that foresight. You're gonna have to wait until the tile set actually gets in play. So I feel like at least bringing out one of the 2 snipers is a good call. If they lose the
Mhm.
mob but only have like 2 shots in it, then it might not get picked up in the next round, and then you still have a Saber. So at least saving the Saber here is a fantastic idea, but still bringing out the mob to have that long range potential, probably the quite literal best option here for
Yeah.
Kitura.
Speaking of spawn peaks, Jet and Merchant both on the green window, but no one will go there as the 5-man of Global Breakout just breaches and pushes into office, and the first person to contest that will be Merchant, but no one from Kitura is actually playing in Tellers, so that's easy control. War Charge coming out as well, and the shutters are open. The Molly in Tellers. No one has died just yet, but Ikazo has taken a big chunk of damage, and he's on the AP. He's not on the Saber anymore, which means he needs to take his fights carefully. Flash is still in pockets. Not many have gone out from Global Breakout, and we know better. Argo will finally push him with the shotgun, and he will clear out. Pleb decides to push Storefront as well, and EK finally gets the entry onto Musi. Merchant also pretty low on HP, but so is SaChi.
Best part about managing to get open all of shutters that you were actually able to get pretty good access inside of fridges, but Freezer is still a really big issue to deal with here. Akazo tries to swing out, can't find anything. Here comes Argo inside of the arcade room, finds out Merchant. Bomb starting to go down, or being diffused, I should say. Argo holding quite close in the back area. Will not win that duel against Dylan, though. Domzi still getting plenty of this diffuser down onside the bomb. 80%. Dylan swings wide. He'll shut it down for the time being, but it's only Dylan left to stand here for the defense, and SaChi will cut through him like a warm knife to butter. 5-3 now for Global Breakout as they played that double charge damn near perfectly to not only get control of fridges and freezer, but to isolate the players in between storage and arcade to force them to go for a hero play.
Agreed. Though, like you said, double charge coming out from Global Breakout in this round, and also a lobby breach on Bank last round, meaning that they better pray that there is no checkpoint on the kill house they're about to play, because everyone knows pushing into checkpoint on most kill house maps is just plain suicide. They better hope they get a reception through which you can usually push. There are still some tricky receptions where, you know, defenders can hide behind every corner with the necks and the autos, but most of the time, reception is the safer bet than the checkpoint. So, GB gets lucky, reception is there, but it looks like Kitura will still hold it pretty well. They realize that GB can only enter through there, and it's a funnily reception. Look at the long, narrow holes and the turns and the twists of reception, fellow. This could go very badly for Global Breakout. I think they still have at least one grenade in play, but it's still such a funnel there that I think Kitura could easily win this if they play their cards right.
And again, I always love to talk about how willing Katura can be to fall back in certain circumstances. If,
Hmm.
for example, no one clears out this back part of hallway, you have a free access point into lockers on the bottom like that. And if you have a knack, which I believe there is still one on the board because there was a reuse of a knack by Dylan, I believe, into C store. You could wallbang this for free basically onto the bomb. So there is really no safe way to long arm this actual bomb itself, unless you're maybe playing like right hugging the lockers essentially, but that is still incredibly risky. You might still have to worry about potentially someone maybe running out and trying to shoot you out like that. That is also a very high gamble, but it could still work out favoring Kitura. So not only do they have the option to get aggressive in the early round, but they have a really strong chance of setting up for a perfect denial when this defuse is being attempted by GB, if we even get there.
Early in the round, we saw a lot of potential bar placements from Kitura that was very aggressive in deception, and I was a big fan of that. I thought that, they know where GB needs to come from. They'll just hold them in reception, not even let them push out. They decided back and just do the near edges of reception and just barb those off. There's still a barb missing on the left side of reception. I think Dylan actually doesn't have it. There we go. Roach sprints in a little bit late, but we'll get it. And Kitura just giving away reception for free. I feel like they could contest it better. Muse is playing for the red wallbang though, if I'm not mistaken, which is not a bad idea. He could get a nice angle there. That is exactly what is happening. There we go. SaChi will take just a tiny fraction of damage, but it's not going to be impactful in round at all. And reception control has just been forfeited for Global Breakout for free. And if there's one thing that you don't want to do as Kitura is this. I don't know why they fell back so passively, but they have, and they've given GB so much time and space to work with early on.
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to actually wallbang with the Groover. Not a lot of damage can be done, even if you land those shots. Kitchen already in the pocket of Global Breakout as well. They are in a pretty strong position so far. The only thing they've been having to dodging so far are these bolts being thrown out through the wall, but they've only been able to deal any damage so far. So it's not that big of a concern. Merchant, though, is not being flushed out. He's just being traded shots between himself and the opponents. Roach will find one before being traded back quickly by Plebdo. The auto is not going to be as damaging as anticipated here by the defense. Dylan finds one, though, through the windows between Courtyard and Kitchen itself. This funnel so far by Global Breakout has been a total nightmare, and there is still a chance for these long sightlines to be a complete devastation in these last few short moments of the round. There's still a push being attempted out through Kitchen. I mean, you've got to pick up the pace and get that ante up here.
Ooh,
A smoke gets tossed, so now a fallback will be necessary by the defense, but we still haven't had that push finally occur. There goes the flash. It catches Merchant off guard. Dylan is just hiding inside of this smoke grenade, and it actually might catch a couple of attackers off guard, but he can't find anyone up until now. Plebdo runs into his LOS. Now a 2 versus 2. Domzi has retrieved the full auto, but is nowhere near the site at the moment, so Akazo basically has to rush in against a 2 versus 1. He gets caught in a crossfire. Now Domzi, the last one to stand. He's got less than 5 seconds to both find these 2 picks and get the defuse, and he cannot do it in time. 4 to 5 for Kitura as they're able to hold on and kill house.
What a round, fellow. And it's 4-5, like you said, just 1 point in Kitura, tie it up just near match point. GB have been doing so well. I think it was a 5-2, 5-3, 5-2 split even. And they just fallen off. They haven't won a round since. They were 2 points away from winning this one game. And keep in mind, Kitura already has 1 game won. They have the map advantage because they have, come through the upper bracket. They only need to win 2 games today to take it home. GB needs to win 3. So I don't know, it feels like every time I count Kitura out, they somehow find a way to bring it all back, and it's both frustrating and amazing to watch. But let's see if they can actually keep up their pace and their momentum on their attacking side, because they went 0-3 when they last attacked in the first set. Then they've done very well on their defense. They got 4 out of the 6 rounds, which is still, really good considering how they started off. And now they're back in attack where they've just not been hitting their stride today. Maybe some of the momentum they've garnered on defense, though, will take them through at least 1 or 2 more attacking rounds because they need 2 to tie or 3 to win at the moment.
Yeah, it's been 3-0 like you mentioned, and then a handful of 2-1 splits for Kitura, hence why we are pretty neck and neck now moving into this final quarter. A 3-2 split being implemented out here by Kitura, and I like that. They noticed that the biggest problem here for Global Breakout when they were attacking this bank set was the fact that they had to sort of funnel inside of accounting and didn't
Yep.
really have multiple access ways into the building. So instead of, having to force yourself into that funnel, they'll go for event play and maybe even attempt to have a wall charge into this back wall so they can get instant access to button without actually having to gain control of accounting. And if your presence inside of lobby is strong enough, you can just hold this double door. If no one plays inside a vault, that is basically a free entry point inside a vault to start baiting for that defuse. And again, if you've got coverage, then no one can push you wide to go contest you on the bomb itself. But I'm not 110% sure if we're going to see that full commitment by the attacking side of Kitura. They might only want to bring out one charge and just have a light presence inside event rather than going fully guns blazing here on their first attacking set in the fourth quarter.
The fact that 3 people are gonna go vents in loans and hallway is both enticing and kind of scary for me if I'm Kitura right now, because it's still a funnel. 2 out of the 4 walls in loans are made out of glass, which means they can be shot 1 bullet and you can see through them, and there's no cover besides that little desk on which you have to head glitch, and even that is not complete cover as the penetration is still a thing in this game. So having 3 people in loans and hallway is only gonna work if they push really, really fast, and if Global Breakout doesn't rotate the bodies that they currently have in tellers and even security onto the loans. But so far, that has not been done. SaChi's the first person that they'll have to encounter, and he's still looking towards the main lobby that just got breached. He will have to push into loans, though. He hears the glass break and now he has to make a choice on what he's actually gonna do. He's playing it safe at the moment. He just wallbangs a little bit, finds none, and that is all of control of hole and even security in just a second relinquished to Kitura early on. Ikazo, though. Oh no!
Nothing he can do there. He was caught in the worst place possible, Box. I hate to cut you off, but he either would have died in security or in the middle of lobby there. Plug finds refrag, so it's not that big of a deal, and Domzi is able to hold off this inevitable push here and gets a 1 pump onto Merchant as well. Goodbye, Merchant, as he falls in the middle of security. The backside play in a teller does not work out at all, as Musi will be ripped to shreds by Argo. It's just up to these last 2 attackers trying to trudge their way inside of lobby room. And again, fallback potential. It's been done several times by Kitura, this time by GB. The only one to get aggressive is Plebdo. He wins his 1 versus 1, and now Roach is the only one left to stand. At this point, I would highly recommend he just picks up the saber and just falls back. Even if he hits the switch somehow, he is still very limited on time and resources to win this out. He gets rid of Argo and gets caught at the worst time possible, running away near tellers. That's where SaChi picks up the moment to strike, and he'll manage to retrieve the saber as well. A very potent round for GB to put themselves into match point.
I really didn't think, or if I'm Roach, at least, I don't expect, 3 out of the 3 remaining players from GB to just play in accounting. So turning his attention towards Stellars, I think, was completely natural there. Sadly, GB just had 3 people in accounting, and they just swung one by one until they got him. So great on their part. But also, like you said, we are on match point, fellow, and GB have been the stronger team throughout the game, but Kitura have still kind of been gaining some momentum, and losing 7-4, I don't think is indicative of how close this game has been overall. But it all comes down to the C-store. We'll see if Kitura can maybe hold themselves afloat for one more round or not. You could do what Global Breakout have done. You could go for the double charge play. I think that is still in play, right? They've only played Bank. They've only lost 1 charge and 1 clacker. So they could potentially pull all the stops. They could do what GB did, and they could breach both office and storefront. And that would mean that they, make this round relatively easy for them. But also then they need to funnel in kitchen and in reception and kill house, like the round that they've won against Global Breakout. And I don't know, green here is also an okay play, but there's a lot of wallbang potential from storage, from pretty much all the angles there. So I honestly don't know. If I'm Kitura here, I'm torn. On one hand, if I lose this round and if I don't use 2 charges, then the game is over anyways. It doesn't end up mattering. But if I use both charges and win the game, I will still be forced to eco in the next one, and it's going to be a tough one regardless. What do you think happens?
So for a brief moment, we saw 2 different attempts by Kitura. A, shuttering, or wall charging, opening up this back shutter inside of Friege's. That's not a bad idea. I talked about how strong this angle is just to either try to poke near the main part of shutters or just to sit here
Mhm.
and you can fall back into freezer, which then you can hold the bomb from. You can have a really deadly crossfire between your teller player and your freezer player. That's not a bad idea at all, but you really miss out on a majority of storefront, quite obviously. And now the second play that we saw by Kitura, which is what they're implementing, is to wall charge inside of freezer itself and just go through green. This is not a horrible idea because again, freezer, it's a really strong part of the map. That way you can have multiple sightlines directly onto the bomb. I think the only issue is that when you wall charge this open, you tend to forget about bathroom. That's where EK's playing at currently. They have an arrow directed towards it, so maybe they'll aggress towards the IGL's position at one given moment here. But if they forget about that one simple thing, and that can also be said for Arcade, it's just going to be a funnel inside a freezer, and it'll be a complete collapse by GB if they spot that out.
First volley does come out though, and there's been just a little bit of damage dashed out on both sides. Ikazo also ready to help out Pleb though if needed, but Pleb doesn't need any help as he gets the entry onto Merchant once again, and Merchant has been so valuable for Kitura. He'll be sorely missed. Muse gets one though, and that is Ikazo falling, but SaChi's ready for the refrag. He decides to throw the molly instead and just play safe in the bathroom, where Pleb though has also fallen back to the freezer. Does get breached just like you predicted, and Pleb is flashed and taken out by Muse, and Argo gets 2, SaChi gets 1. It's all up to Roach to clutch it out. It's a 1v3, he takes out SaChi, but there are still 2 left. And the auto shot, or rather, yeah, both the auto shotty and the saber in hands of Argo and Domzi respectively. And it's just such a risky push here for Roach. But if he doesn't win this one, it's all over for him anyways. No flashes that he retrieved from his dead teammates' bodies, which may be a mistake. I'm sure there were some there. He needs to push though, 50 seconds, he has time to work with, and he's just creeping through storage, trying not to make any noise. That's a good play to make there, because you will creep up behind both of the remaining defenders.
Probably his best option of approach too, but Argo is waiting with such keen focus. Down goes the last attacker here for Kitura, and it's a 7-4 victory for Global Breakout on match 1. Now, things have completely tied up now, 1-1 in the scoreline. So nothing can be said just yet, but that was a tremendous way to remove that match advantage that Kitura had against you moving into the grand finals, and to start off with a pretty good mental boost. They were able to read into a lot of the plays that Kitura were implementing, and I mean, it only makes sense as to how well they were able to play and get that 7-4 victory.
Yep, agreed. I don't know. I'm glad that Kitura towards the second half of the game, they kind of, still showed some signs of life. They still are in the game. They are not to be written out just yet. And I hope that they can maximize their potential in games 2, 3, and 4 onwards. I really do think that they can at least take one more map before GB wins this one out. But ultimately, I still have to give it GB. If they keep their pace up, I think there's really not much Kitura can do. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a great, exciting game ahead of us. And honestly, do you have any closing thoughts? If not, we'll do the standard 5-minute break before we go back to the game.
Before we go into the break for a quick second, I feel like going over stats for just a few short moments here for match number 1.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea, just to see what we kind of got ourselves into. We had these played throughout the whole match, don't get me wrong, but it kind of was a bit challenging for us to look at them. And yeah, I mean, we said it'd be a close game. The stats, they are not lying. Everyone is really doing their part. The weakest damage dealer is both Domzi and SaChi, but they've been playing more for either a refrag role or they've been playing simply to die. Example A was on Bank, where Domzi was playing close with a tub and 2 mollies. He was there to waste time and kind of be bait for Plebdo. We saw that implemented in the Gnomes game. So despite the fact that their damage is kind of low, that's not bad. Same thing for Musi as well. Not the greatest damage, don't get me wrong, but he still had a really important role to play a majority of those rounds. But I think one hilarious stat to look at is Jets, because he did so much damage, yet only went 3-11. That's something really interesting to look at.
Yeah, his favorite weapon, which is, not shown on stream at the moment, was the mop, which means that he's hit a lot of those body shots where it deals 135 damage when you're defender shooting at attackers, so they barely were left alive, and that's where 6 assists came from. That's where all the damage, or almost all the damage, came from. Look at his average. Oh, there's also no defensive ADR on stream. So his defensive ADR on stream was 160. His attacking one was 54. So you can just tell that he was the mob player, and he was hitting a lot of body shots. Sadly, no headshots, or very little headshots that we've seen of him, but maybe that can improve. in games 2 and onwards. After all, he's not a sniper.
I think we're just figuring out here if we want to actually go in and bring out our lovely host in a few short moments. I think we're getting that confirmed here. In case Gundam is also down for not going into a break as well, because you gotta show support to our producer as well. He's been doing a lot of the heavy
Yep.
lifting in the background, of course, the unsung hero. And yeah, he is 100% down to do that as well. We also have Melvin up here in the Discord call as well. So thank you for stopping by. I hope you feel better vocally and physically as well, because that did make me feel a little bit bad that he's still to come in and observe today. But we appreciate you stopping by here as well. That way I don't have to observe for the whole cast, because that would not be good. I'll be brutally honest. But I know who is good. It's, of course, our host, Echo. So we'll get him in here as well and have his 2 cents on the match we just saw go down.
Oh my god. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna just say it. Do not count Kitura out just yet. Okay, listen.
Of course
Statistics
not.
Okay.
statistics have shown that Kitura is always like I think I forget which one of you said it, but it takes them a minute to kind of it's like an old car engine, right? You gotta test that
Mhm.
thing a few times. You gotta start them up and
Right,
then they
right.
get going. But I do okay. I need you guys' thought on this. Listen, so Kitura, I've noticed at least
Okay.
Kitura seems to always kind of when they're on defense, right? They have this weird kind of strat where they're always falling back. Is this big brain or is this like a misstep? Because we saw on maps like C Store, right, where they give up control of power positions like tellers, for example, and let GB get that for free. But then we see on other maps, like for example, Kill House, where they gave up that entire top reception area. But because of that, somehow they straight up big brain and managed to have the entirety of GB funnel through the kitchen area, and they're just able to cut them down one by one. I don't know. I need you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I will. I'll go first, of course, and then have the
okay.
smarter individual actually go after me, the true color commentator
Debatable.
in the duo. I think understanding when it's a good idea to fall back. I think that's the biggest issue for Katura, because they just love to fall back for no good reason a lot of times. In that Kill House set, you mentioned it perfectly, Echo, there was a funnel. And I'd like to think in the back of my mind that Katura noticed that and they were like, it might be a safer idea to not commit to the overaggression, to
Yeah.
fall back. We have a saber, we have decent weaponry, we have a full auto for that close quarter gunfight in between kitchen and the site itself. So we have the luxury to fall back here because there's no charges. No one can go in the backside of Hall. They have to come to us at the end of the day. So let's just hold up in these nice anchor positions and give them hell. But then there were other moments where they kind of gave away way too much map control. And GB is a team that loves to capitalize off of their opponent's mistakes. They are very quick at noticing those weaknesses against their, enemies that they're going against. So sometimes it's a very big risk and sometimes it's a very little reward in the process as well. But there have been instances, especially against the gnomes, where that one saving grace of having a 5v5 in the last 50 seconds really paid dividends when they run the defense.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Fellow there. I think the biggest factor with Katera and their falling back and recouping is not just when to do it, like as in which rounds they should and they shouldn't, but also at what part of the round they do it. Because there are some
Yep.
rounds where they just do it instantly. They're like, oh, someone's like 3 rooms over. We better just all fall back into the bomb site and give them the map for free. But then there are other times, other rounds where they kind of take a few gunfights, take a few shots, bait out a few flashes, and then they fall back and they've already chipped away a few damage. They've already taken out some of the attacker's utility, and those are the Kitura rounds, the Kitura fallbacks that we love to see. And it just comes down to whether they actually end up falling back in the first 20 seconds, or if it's been a minute or even a minute 30, because they've at that point wasted so much time and they've kept GB on their tippy toes about potential flanks and just pushes and who's in what corner. And it's just at which part of the round they do it in, mostly. At least that's what I think. I don't know. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on it as well, honestly.
No, honestly, I think there's not really much more I can add to that. I mean, you guys really broke it down perfectly. That's kind of what I was thinking as well, because it's like you guys said, really, some maps, they were just very quick to give up ground. And I mean, I think it was Boxy who said it perfectly during the round as well. It's like you can't be giving up these areas for free to
Yeah.
a team like GB. And we saw every time the
Mhm.
opportunity presented themselves, they were quick to just pounce right on it. That being said, though, I gotta say, I think that Argo and Plebdo might need to go to a chiropractor after that one, because these guys were going crazy. They were doing they put some crazy numbers on the board. I'm gonna just say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Again, ADR and favorite weapon aren't showing on the stats on the stream, but Argo's defensive ADR, and he peaked at 2k damage by the way overall. His defensive ADR, so on average round on defense, he did 311 damage, which is 2 full kills. His favorite weapon, his best weapon, has been the auto shotgun, which I don't think surprises
Surprise.
anyone, but he's just been a beast today. And then we also have Pleb, who's still been at a 1.6k damage, and his ADR is a little bit more evened out. He's at 120 on attack, 172 on defense, but he's just been putting up those kills consistently. Also, the only GB player with a 100% cast, and 4 out of 4 entry fights or duels won. So just props to both of them. Like you said, I think they've been pulling really hard for GB.
Definitely. And I think also we got to give some love to the people like Merchant, for example, and Dylan
Yep.
as well on their team, as biased as that sounds, who are doing that. I mean, especially Merchant, where he was going crazy on the side of Kitura. He pulling out some crazy clutches when his team kind of needed him to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%. I mean, Dylan, we always talk about him. I mean, you were talking as he'd be your
Maybe a bit too
favorite.
much
I have
about
a yeah, but I mean, for good reason. He
That's
kind
true.
of fits more of that semi-aggressive role. Like he'll play up close if he needs to. He loves to shotgun on the attack, and then we saw him knack a lot too. Which, wall pen. If your team is not great at clearing out 90, if not 100% of the entire set itself, then you're going to most likely have to deal with someone wallbanging you when you're going for that defuse on the attack. So he was able to play into that strength countless times, doing a pretty fair amount of damage.
yep.
So, yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think both Kitura and GB, they played that match pretty well overall. It just, especially for pro teams, it just comes down to the small mistakes
Yeah.
that you make towards the latter end of the round itself. Not being in the best position or not expecting a double flash, or miscommunication as to who's going to be pushing what doorway at what exact time. It's those kind of issues that we witness a lot and force a lot of L's to be given to a certain team. And it just matter of fact, that happens more to Kitura in comparison to GB, unfortunately, despite the fact we have seen plenty of trolling from GB throughout this entire tournament. I'm going to keep it a buck 50. They like to call myself and Boxy the GB loyalists, but from us being so close with them, we understand that they don't always have perfect rounds. Nobody does. We're all
For
human at the
sure.
end of the day. So if Kitura, if they're able to notice A, their own mistakes, and B, the small errors from Global Breakout, then I can almost guarantee that at least get one match on the board here tonight in this grand final.
Definitely, I feel that. I mean, thematically as well. Ironically, really, somehow we saw kind of the most hiccups coming out from GP on the bank map. Seems like maybe that prize
Yep.
money is going to
Yes.
the head because we just saw. It's like we were saying during the cast. Some of these kind of disorganized pushes where you're kind of asking
Hmm.
yourself like, are 2 out of the 5 teammates maybe muted and deafened in the Discord? Like, what's going on? Are they pinging the wrong
Argo
thing?
blasting music.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Argo blasting music, just like I just got like the auto shotty going absolutely crazy. But yeah, okay. Real quick though, I hear that they are queuing. So predictions, game 2. What are we thinking, fellow? I'm gonna start with you.
Well, I think that if we see more double charge plays by Global Breakout, and if we see better timing on the aggression by Kitura, I think we could definitely have a 2-1 refavoring Kitura 100%. However, we see plenty of teams adapt no matter what when they move into the second match. So we could have Kitura still improve from the last game, but if GB falls at exact same pace, they'll still just be that one step ahead of their opponent. So it is really tough to call, but I feel like Kitura, they might just get a slight lead up against them and at the very least secure a tie here for match 2.
All right, and Boxy, real quick, lightning round. What you thinking, man? How you feeling?
GB have been super strong, but like Fellow said, I would love to see Kitura get at least one, and I think if they get one, it's going to be now. It's going to be a 2-1 lead again,
Yep.
and that gives them a great fighting chance for subsequent games later on in the evening or the day or, whatever time zone you're in, like you said earlier. So, the teams are ready. We're in a game, and it's going to be Bank, Killhouse, and Factory. So, once again, thank you, Echo, for joining in with us here. We'll have you back after this game.
Absolutely. Good luck, guys. Have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we already talked about the tile sets and where we're going in these first 3 rounds,
Ooh.
Boxy. And I mean, Bank, it was probably one of the weaker setups for GB, especially on their attack. Their communication is great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they could implement that better by going for multiple approaches and not just all funneling into one direction. Now, for example, going into Vent, That's not a horrible idea. Is it a bit of an obvious play? Yes, because it's
Yep.
so close to the button. If you just go through security door, you don't have to deal with the rotating walkthroughs if you're doing that. But also, that can be said the same way with entrance. It's not that far away from button, and you still have to go through these revolving doors at the end of the day. So we might not need to have a full commit of a 5-man push. Maybe like instead of that, we have a 4-to-1 approach with someone kind of late breaching into manager to get like some back shots on anyone playing into accounting. But that being said as well, 3-to-2, that's what GB is least attempting here while in the planning phase. That's not a bad idea either.
Yeah, keep in mind though, when you press the button, either before or right after, you will need to have the teller slash bathroom slash loans control as well, because when the vault opens, it's going to close the lobby to bathroom or hallway connection, meaning that you need to actually push into the vault here, unless you have someone perfectly timed, you know, the sprint from lobby into the vault. That's also possible. But late round, when it's maybe a 2v2, 1v2, something like that, you don't have the luxury of having one person just wait for the vault push in lobby. Dylan will be playing in vault though, or at least it looks like it. Maybe not. Maybe not. Roach will be. Okay, there we go. Roach or Jet, or both potentially. Roach has 2 mollies, so I assume if anyone, it's gonna be him. But also a lot of utility being used in that vault. And if both end up playing in there, which seems more and more likely, that's going to be a 3v5 elsewhere on the map early on. And again, GB could capitalize on that. They're a team that knows how to do that. They have been known to take every small advantage that their opponents give them, and they have somehow made a significant advantage out of it. So, what happens here, fella? What do you think? The vault is open for now, by the way.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen a Loans play to immediately try to rush inside a vault, but they have double barbed wires. That would give their opponents plenty of time to re-hit the switch to actually give that safety back in the pocket of vault. So it's a better call just to stick to your guns and your original plan here for Global Breakout, as they already get access inside a manager and accounting. Argo sprints against Merchant. He'll be able to get away back inside a lobby. Lepto almost picks him off. It's finally confirmed frag. Now, all of these defenders are just bundled up in the back half of the building, and now this one direction has been cut off here for the defense. Now essentially a 5 versus 2, depending on how well GB can play. Great shot by EK. That downs and finishes off Musi. Dylan is the only one left to stand until this button gets re-hit, but they're going to flush out this lone defender before they end up doing that. Domzi and the rest of his squad are now checking the entire crevice of Bank to make sure it's only players left up inside a vault, and now all they have to deal with here is probably just these 2 mollies. They've saved a grenade to toss one directly here on this one barbed wire set. Domzi will immediately do that to waste little to no time, and it's only a matter of seconds before they just bombard inside of this molly and try to make ends meet here in these last 30 seconds. There goes the push. The molly not going to be done quick enough. Domzi manages to make it through. Can he find one pick? He downs Jet, but will he finish off Roach? He cannot. It's only Dalton left to stand, but he springs into action, goes for the brace, and it works out plentiful for him. The main captain of GB will have more than enough time to defuse the bomb, and it will be won by a hair for Global Breakout on round number 1. Oh, Box, you're still on mute in Discord.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I
I
was
was like, man,
earlier.
he's taking a really long break to process all this.
Yeah, I mean, I do need a very long break to process. Thank you for letting me know, by the way. Wow, amazing. But I'm not gonna lie to you. If you're a GB fan, fellow, this was way too close for comfort there. I don't know, with the huge advantage you've had, I think it was a 4v2, if not a 5v2 there when they pushed the last 2 remaining players from Kitura in the vault, and it coming down to a 10-second 1v1, I think if you're GB, you kind of need to say, hey, how did we almost throw that? How did we not do that next time Worm Bank or, you know, any other tough situation like that? Because honestly, that almost went to Kitura, and I would have felt happy if it did. With the clutch that they've almost just pulled off, I think they deserve round 1, but it goes to GB nonetheless, and let's see if they can not just keep it up, but also increase their advantage on Killhouse on game 2, or round 2 rather. What do you think though, in terms of Killhouse? It's a super big one. It has the ugly lumberyard and checkpoint both kind of, you know, fused into one, but at least the bomb is far away, so it's not like the bomb is in lumberyard, which happens a lot, and it's horrible to play. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate those kinds of kill houses. This is not gonna be one of those, but it looks like we may actually see one of those famous GB wall charge plays that you so much love.
Yeah, because it's so direct and it just makes your life so much easier. Yeah, exactly, EK. You don't have to worry about the barbed wire right here. No double wall bang with someone backstage in the site of office itself. You just run into site, throw some flashbangs, and you get the job done, no matter how dirty it has to get. Really. If they're going to go in through green, though, to implement this wall charge play, they are probably going to have to worry about this sight line for the most part because this is pretty easy to hold, especially if no one goes kitchen as well. And maybe someone peeking out aggressive in lumberyard. We have this red arrow being drawn in through this like half angle, so no one can like walk or jump over it, but you can just kind of play and again fall back. So this does play into the strengths of Kitura because, like all three of us mentioned, Echo including, Kitura, they love their fallbacks. So this map setup in particular for Killhouse is really going to play into that one strength. They just have to make sure they don't get too comfortable on this defense or GB might catch them off guard.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And I'm curious to see what GB end up doing. It looks like it's gonna be checkpoint, lockers, and then the wall charge breach, like we said. But I feel like they always have like those little small things, details that other teams done, and they may have like, I don't know, someone either push through kitchen or just like an elaborate flank watch. I think we're just gonna be like we're gonna see something that's just gonna make us go, oh, this round. I don't know why.
Yeah, we already have instant control of lockers. The red door being open so that wall charge player can kind of hop on in, get ready to detonate it in the next few short moments. Not having to worry about hallway in the slightest is going to be a pretty big sigh of relief, but you should not completely ignore it. You can still wallbang in through this back area and manage to deny that defuse unless someone's able to long arm it at just the right time. Dylan playing up close. He'll get flashed though, completely disoriented. There's a team kill, but so far it's nothing but net for Global, Breakout, Merchant, and Newsy, the last two alive here for Kitura to try to hold down the fort right outside of offices. Diffuser still being ticked down. We got Newsy getting aggressive though. Two gigantic picks with the small AK. Now an even 2 versus 2, but Plebdo strikes, down goes Merchant. It's up to Musi now as he falls back. He'll try to rotate around through Club, and that could maybe catch Plebdo off guard, but there isn't a lot of time left. SaChi, or pardon, Domzi will hear the audible cue. Musi runs inside, gets rid of one, almost gets it, but cannot do it in time. I thought for sure he had Domzi dead to rights, but I was proven wrong. And once again, Plebdo going big for his team. Technically finding a 5K on the round as he did team kill Argo, but still an impressive second round in the back pocket of Global Breakout. But we have seen this beforehand where they got aggressive early on in this matchup, and then Kitura, they were slowly able to crawl their way back and almost give a pretty decent showing against Global Breakout in match number 1.
Once again, it feels like Kitura are their own biggest enemy. It's not how well or bad GB play at any given moment, it's how much control they relinquish in those early rounds. And like you said, they didn't contest checkpoint or lumber or kitchen or anything. They have completely forgot that the bottom half of the map exists, and that is not something you can do. You've pointed out multiple times how fast GB just take control, how much they capitalize on no one contesting certain rooms, and that is what Kitura still keeps doing, and that is their biggest mistake in this entire matchup and possibly in the entire major. They fall off perfectly when they actually contest the entire map early on, but when they're all already condensed, or at least like 3-4 of them are already condensed into the bomb site, there's not much else that you can, there's nowhere that you can fall off later on in the rounds, and that is what is punishing Kitura and their playstyle. Playing for fall offs is perfectly fine, but also having nowhere to fall back off to is, I don't know, it's just so detrimental in their rounds, and it's frustrating to see them make these mistakes when we know how well they can play and how well they should be playing at the moment, fellow. But we are on Factory, and we'll see again, it's a huge one. It looks like we're going to be seeing an office breach, and office is quite powerful there. Also, a dock breach would not surprise me, but I guess office dock kind of serve the same purpose to get control of the bottom lower half. You can also shoot out the fan later on. Fan, not really playable here. There's not many good angles you can get off of it, though, so I don't know if you'd want to go for it. Server farm on the top, I think, makes a lot of sense if you want to either split or go for lights and boiler. But having 5 go into office, like Plebdo marked on the map so kindly for us, I think is also a great plan here. Just ignore lights. You don't need to go for lights just because they are there, right?
I'm interested if you could actually do parkour to get on the actual pipe works here as a defender. Now, that could be a bit risky depending on where you play. You could hide behind this little flap here. I don't remember what a majority of players actually call this here, but just the metal flap is fine, I guess, for now. Or the half wall is what I would think of it normally from my Siege
Mhm.
background. You could also play here as well inside a pipe works, but that's a bit too close to the actual fan. Maybe incredibly close like this, have a bit of natural cover, maybe
Yeah.
not get shot here through fan. That's a bit risky though still, but I don't think any of the defenders are going to opt to go for that risky play inside of Pipeworks. That could have potentially led to some really nice sightlines in towards this office doorway, but if they hold this green door, it's still the exact same sightline, and you can fall back with plenty of natural cover as well, especially since office is going to be a big point of contention here for the attackers. They get instantly aggressive. EK will manage to find the first two opening picks and catches me off guard alongside of Kitura here. He's looking for another, but it's Plebdo and Argo to find picks of their own instead. I believe it's just Jet left alive, wondering what in God's name just happened to his team. He'll miss a vital mob shot. He's just trying to strafe in this back corner, getting bullied by Argo, and he'll make sure that body is cold as he keeps spraying in more and more bullets. There's more than enough time left to defuse. It's another 3-0 essentially, unless for some odd reason GB refused to defuse the bomb in this next minute and 10. Oh, they are giving Jet the works. They are trying to wreck that mental game, and if there's anyone who you would want to have on the wrong side of that mental chalkboard, it would definitely be Jet.
Yeah, I think more shots have been fired into Jet's body this round.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
I think more shots have been shot into the bodies post round than, actual rounds fired. GB was hunting down the
You might
players
be
of
right.
Kitura. But Merchant dying that early, I think, was extremely detrimental for GB. He fell back from office pretty nicely. I wanted to compliment him on that. But then EK just dropped down on top of it. It was like some Assassin's Creed type stuff, when you just like kind of drop down for the ledge. Anyways, I really thought Merchant had that in the back. Hit the AK. EK was on him. I thought he had that in the back. And he fell back from office, meaning that he called out his teammates, but no one rotated fast enough to actually help him out. Global Breakout just exploded out of the office, and they ran people down. You could tell Roach got shot in the back by EK like 5 times because he didn't expect anyone would be behind him at that point. But Global Breakout just literally just shift W'd across the entire map, got all the kills. It was all up to Jet in 1v5 with the mob. And if there's one thing that we know is that there is no real hard carry potential on the snipers in this game. There are super strong weapons, yes, but you cannot 1v5 with the snipers, especially not the mob, because it takes like 7 years to reload after you shoot one shot, and you gotta reload after every single shot. So we are on bank. Fella, what do you think we see here? We've seen how GB have attacked this, but how will they defend this? Will they go for the same open vault play as Kitura have elected to? I don't think so. Yeah, I think they're not big fans. Yeah?
I'm
Oh.
thinking bathroom for sure.
Argo?
So
Argo?
here's my thought process.
Argo?
Kitura, they're not a dumb team. They've already seen Domzi rat in this position right here. They're even drawing on the map of, hey, let's make sure we check this close corner so we don't have to worry about A, the Molotovs, and B, someone playing with a tub to kill somebody's security. And, Kitura realizing that, and GB probably expecting that too, they're like, all right, where can we rat then? Well, you've got this convenient bathroom placed right next to the vault. No one can push through here once the switch is hit, so they have to push through this part of bathroom, essentially. If you have someone play there and fall back later on, especially Plebdo at the full auto, that is going to be a living nightmare. Currently, we've got Plebdo doing the crouch head trick where he's hidden behind this natural card behind the desk, so he'll be playing across the exact opposite side of the map, but you've got to check those corners because GB, they will get greasy and they will go for some pretty dumb plays. And I mean, bathroom, basically your own coffin. You just got to bring somebody down with you to make that play work. We've seen it happen before, and we've seen it been technically a success for GB. So it would not shock me if someone rotates there later on in the round.
Can we just talk about the fact that it's actually Pleb on the auto and Argo relegated
right?
to the neck? It's weird and surprising, but Pleb will play exactly where Merchant is going to push. And again, if Merchant dies early, it's over for Kitura. First vent gets shot out, and actually Pleb will rotate out. He was going to push the other vent, but then both got shot, and somehow they've both made it out loud. Also, Argo mollies that just to make sure that both him and Pleb can escape. Great play, great time waster. And now it's Muse and Merchant both stuck in manager with very little to do, as Argo will just hold them boxed in, but Pleb will completely rotate around the map. And that is something that EK is very mad at me when I do it, but I guess Pleb can get away with it because he is Plebdo after all. And the rest of Kitura is just waiting patiently for a late blow on the lone side, where it's just Argo at the moment. He could get caught with his pants down, and that is very likely to happen, but I think he heard them because he's ready for them.
And he's just playing behind this lone's desk, so maybe the flashbang won't fully blind him here. A lot of util being wasted on the left side of the map here, but there goes Argo with the swing. Can't find a single soul, unfortunately, and no one's there to refrag. Up until now, EK picks the perfect time to swing wide. He'll get one for his troubles. Plebdo through the teller window will deal a bit of damage, but not going to pick at all. The button's still not being hit, though. There's 30 seconds left. Plebdo tries to go for a swing, can only get one, though. Merchant will survive it, but there's still Domzi and SaChi not that far behind him. EK falls with the mop, but will it be enough to salvage the round? Most likely not. The best option could potentially be just to try to retrieve that mop, get it out of the attacker's pockets, and just try to cut your losses at that. But Dylan still tries to get aggressive, just about under 10 seconds here. Only a few more seconds need to be spared. Domzi with the full auto gets rid of Dylan, and that is the round forfeited. But you can always look at the bright side of things. Roach, he was able to pick up the mop, and I think there's still a couple of shots left to at least make that reward a bit more palatable, despite the fact it's now 4-0 for Global Breakout.
Yeah, not boding very well, excuse me, for Kitura at all. But can we just talk about, first of all, how well GB wasted the time, but more importantly, I really, really love their barbed wire on the vault, because I think, in my opinion, it achieves two things. First of all, if you have no one playing in vault, it means that you are gonna, the round is probably gonna come down to the last 10-15 seconds like you did right now. And if you're an attacker and you only have 15 seconds left, you still have to sprint to the barbed wire. Well, tough luck. You've wasted too much time. You cannot get the defuse anymore. And then secondly, when you see a barb like that on the vault, it also makes you wonder, wait, is actually everyone playing outside? Is there someone in the vault potentially? So I think that barb was insanely huge, and, maybe it doesn't seem like much, but I think it served its purpose extremely well. And we are on Kill House, where GB will try and make it 5-0. Kitura are yet to find a single round in this game. They've been slow to start in other games, and even in game 1 here today. But being 4-0 down is not something you want to do in the grand finals, fellow. And they need to actually rejuvenate. They need to start finding those kills in those rounds where it matters. They do have the mop on their side this time. And like you said, I believe there's at least 2 to 3 shots in there. I've only seen EK fire 2 last round. So can they make it work is my question, and how?
I am not too sure. I'm going to check Roach's actual person to see how many mop shots he actually has in here. Once we get into the gear up phase, of course, still have a couple of seconds to wait there. If they do have the mop on the board, there are, of course, a lot of angles to contend with here for Kill House. It's a pretty open one, especially because Lumberyard is on the board. We saw Argo actually possibly opting to go for an incredibly long angle all the way down through this green doorway once they finally push in through checkpoint. That's not a horrible idea, because again, funneling, it's a really bad thing to get yourself in a habit of doing. So going around in the kitchen might not be a bad idea on paper, but I believe Kitura, they're also aware that there's a really good chance of not even this long angle in the back of club, but at least it's a pretty common one here on this window, could be a big issue to worry about. So it depends on how much Kitura is willing to sacrifice here in this round to see what kind of angles they can try to deal with here. I mean, they've got the mop, so that's an incredibly strong weapon to have against those long ranges, and a saber if they want to pick that up too. But if they lose this round, then both snipers are off the board, and those could easily go back into the hands of Global Breakout if they can play their cards right.
Yeah, if I may interject for just a second, I think, speaking of snipers, that is, I think, sure, it's great that Kitura has the mop, but what's better? That GB doesn't have it, because it limits what they can do on those checkpoint windows, on the lumberyard fences. It just limits their calculated aggression. That is something that we keep seeing out of GB, so the fact that they don't have the mop, off of which Ikazo and Pleb could swing and get kills off of early, I think is huge for Kitura. And if there's one round that they should on paper win, it's this one. They still have plenty of utility. They still have the shotgun, the grenade, everything is coming out. They do not bring the saber, but it won't end up mattering, because GB are playing this quite passively, and Locker's control has once again been relegated. And Kitura seem to be doing the same thing that GB did. They will be breaching out from Lockers straight into office to try and get bomb control early as possible. Molotovs are coming out though, and a few people have been chugging.
Yeah, they don't want to funnel immediately inside of this opening and towards Office just yet. Plebdo managed to spot out Jet, swings on a Dylan, but cannot find a second one here. Domzi in a terrible position. EK will fall just as quickly. And that's everyone dead on the side of Global Breakout, despite the fact they brought no snipers. I mean, you mentioned it perfectly. It was pretty much impossible to try to hold Lumberyard or really anything near this kitchen slash back checkpoint side. And once they understood they had a lot of map control, they could get aggressive. They could just go for that double swing both through the breach and this back barbed wire. And it was more than enough to get that round on the board for Kitura. So at least they won't go empty-handed here in this second half as they finally get their first round on the board in match number 2.
I praise GB a lot, but I will also critique them when it comes to it. And just look at the map really fast. I think the viewers don't see it anymore, but GB were not ready for their own play. They had 3 barbs on the right side in kitchen, 3 barbs in kitchen, and only 1 on the left side from where they've pushed. And not being ready for your own play seems like A, a major oversight, and B, it honestly feels like GB have pulled a Kitura of their own this round. They were all just kind of stacked in kitchen. They weren't contesting the bottom parts of the map or even kitchen. They were like, here are 3 barbed wires, and that, we're just going to forget about this part. And they didn't contest anything. They were all just kind of standing there, and Kitura sprinting in with such ferocity. They were not ready for it, and this is how Kitura finally wins round 1, and they still have 2 snipers on the board here, meaning that Factory is, or at least should be in theory, a piece of cake for them.
Yeah, going back to the point of taking out from the same strap book, I feel like Office would still be a really good idea. Even though they have, NVGs to go for lights, sometimes you gotta swallow your pride and just be like, you know what, we're not gonna bring out night vision a single time on our attack.
Yep.
Because you can have one sniper player go inside a fan. If anyone's playing a bit too aggressive or goes for a fallback, you could maybe cut someone down near dock, for example, and you can have another sniper play inside of Office as well. Now, are they going to want to go for Offices? Maybe not. They might instead want to go green so they can actually eventually, kind of ravel around and end up going in a boiler room to hit lights, which is not a horrible idea at all. But if they do go for lights, they'll still have to worry about the flare play. And if we have the defensive side of GB just not overextend their bodies at all and play more for a close quarter set here on Factory, they still have a very good chance of denying round number 2 as a victory technically here for Kitura. Or their second round, I should say.
Agreed. Again, wall charge has already been used, which means no blowing dock. And again, I'm a huge fan on most factories of blowing dock. It just opens up so many different angles for your snipers. And Kitura have 2 now, which means saving the wall charge may have been a good idea on paper. But then again, they used it to get their first round on the board, so I can't really complain about it. I would like to see, like you said, a split coming out from server. I think having 3, maybe even 4 go Office while 1 late pushes server, I think that could be very detrimental, as, GB already rotates most of their bodies from server, from boiler into walkways, pipeworks, docks, Office even, and having that one person on the flank could be really, really good if Kitura plays it right. But will they do that? Maybe, probably not. Jet is on those green doors though, and he is going to be contesting whoever that is. He will just crouch under the window instead. That was an interesting one. I don't think you guys got that on stream, but regardless, it's actually going to be a vent play that they're creeping towards, it seems. They're just wasting time outside, and they're making GB wonder where they're going to strike from. You see 3 people close to Office, only 2 in Boiler and Server Farm, 1 holding each. There's 3 people stacked on the fan, and the fan blow comes out. Pleb actually swings out, gets Jet. What an entry there. And Jet dying so early on, super detrimental. The Saber is now up for the grabs, and Roach is the one that will probably get on it, but Argo is contesting the same exact angle that Pleb just did. How are you not ready for that? Muse, though, will swing Argo if he's not careful. Domzi gets one Merchant, finishes one of his own, but Pleb is ready for a second one. It's all up to Dylan and Muse as they're taking damage from all sides. Fan is blown, but Pleb is ready for a third one. Muse is now all alone, and he can save the sniper. No, he can, because it's the last round. Boxy, stop saying dumb stuff. He needs to push in. It's 1v3. It's winnable, but unlikely. Domzi's on low HP. You focus on him first, but the first point of contention will be Pleb, though. You actually take him out. Ikazo's in office. Domzi's playing between the silos. You will not even get to see him, as Ikazo will take you out, and it's a 5-1 wipe for Global Breakout once again.
And Jet drawing now on the board. And probably asking his team, why was no one watching green door at all? I've really got to ask the same question too. I mean, the team play, other than not watching green door or pushing from green at all, that was their biggest mistake, and it was quite
Yep.
obvious because it allowed the first initial pick to actually favor Global Breakout, and then you've got that thought in the back of your head, "Oh god, we have to deal with more than just office and maybe someone playing near pipes, we have to deal with
But
server room now as well because someone's still playing there."
see,
So
that's the problem. Sorry for cutting you off, but that's the
you're good.
problem. Kitura didn't have that in the back of their mind. They lost Jet from that swing, and I can excuse them that. It happens. Okay, it's an
Yeah.
oversight, sure. It happens, whatever. But then Argo swung from literally the same angle like 3 more times with the Ingmar, and no one from Kitura was contesting him, and
Yeah,
that I
that's
think
true.
is inexcusable. That is the main problem. Like, sure, it happens. You think, okay, it's a shallow enough angle for them to not be able to see us. Your Jet dies, but after Jet dies, you need to make adjustments accordingly, and that was not done by Kitura, and that is extremely frustrating as I'm just jumping up and down in my seat. 5-1, possibly less said in the game if GB win at least 2 more, and Kitura have their work cut out for them as we are coming into C-Store, fellow, and it's an interesting one.
Yeah, that was actually a really good point you made, so I'm very happy you cut me off, to be honest with you, but yeah, this C-Store, it's not bad for getting open shutters because you could maybe open up this big part of the, actual wall and then kind of hop into storage. It's a bit of a funnel, don't get me wrong, but I think the idea is
Mm-hmm.
to try to, at some point, get kinda control of towers. Maybe they go, like, a 3-2 split of some sort and then kinda, like, collapse, so if someone falls back into storage, they basically have to play to die, and then they get this whole chunk of the map. I'm not too sure how I feel about that, though, to be honest. I think maybe a better idea would be to potentially open up this part of shutters and then maybe try to run inside of, Lightroom, bathroom to go for that breaker switch. The only problem is GB, they know it's a good idea, and they're gonna have Argo play in bathroom with a fully automatic shotgun, so
Yeah.
maybe you don't wanna run an in a Argo there with the auto. That's that's pretty devastating. There aren't a lot of fantastic pushes you can really go for. This C store, in particular for the attack, is gonna be a pretty challenging here for Kitura, especially since they are at a gigantic deficit right now.
100% agreed. Though, to just make a counterpoint, and it's not even my own counterpoint, most pros that I've talked to, most DPL players that I've spoken to, most recently Doodler, just yesterday, he said, out of all the maps with lights, he feels like C-Store is the weakest one. It's the hardest one to really capitalize on the lights advantage because I guess everything is so narrow. I don't know his reasoning, and I'd love for anyone to elaborate on that one, but just wanted to put it out there that maybe C-Store lights are not always the play. Ikazo with a super nice shot though onto Merchant, and that is the best fragger Kitura has to offer currently, off the board early twice in a row. Jet also takes about 50 HP of damage, and Dylan on one shot. He has the shotgun and the clacker. At least use your flashes before you die, but no, Pleb gets a second one. It's all falling apart for Kitura before they even properly enter the building.
I saw that wall charge in hand, and I was like, wait a minute, they're going to charge an Teller. That's a fantastic idea. The only problem is they have not cleared out storage just yet. Plebdo's still playing quite comfortably, and it's a 5 versus 3 because of that early aggression, and they did not have a collapse peak inside of storage.
No.
When trade goes down, there's a bit of action still abrupting inside of storage room. Finally, Jet will have to tussle. Roach in the backside of him. He's getting shot with the fully automatic, and there's nothing they can do. Match point in the pocket already for Global Breakout. That was a really good idea on paper. Do not get me wrong. You could open up all of shutters once you get control of Teller's room. But the problem is there was A, nobody to rotate around once they hit that switch, and B, they still had to funnel in through green, whether they had that wall charge or not, unless it was put on the shutters.
I really think Kitura, at this moment, they need to whip out their checklist, their strat book, whatever you want to call it, and they need to read it out again because they seem to be skipping steps. Like, let's bring the wall chart, check. Let's push green, check. Let's wall into tellers, check. But they somehow skipped over actually clearing out storage, and that is what ended up biting them in the rear, as you would say, and I cringe saying it. And
Bottom
this
actually
is
is the one you hate.
bottom is the one I hate even more.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to say that one. But we are on Killdome, and it's match point. It's not even close. This game one, I felt like I think it was the 7-4 score, right? Was not really indicative of how close most rounds were. But now it's not even that. We're at 6-1, potentially a 7-1 if, EK and company could just get this one more round. And I honestly think that they will. because off of how Kitura have been playing, they seem to be in shambles, and it is a best of 5. They've had a game advantage, don't get me wrong. It is only going to be a 2-1, not even if, but when Global Breakout win this, and they still have time to bounce back. But that is it then. No more losing rounds, no more losing games, because they will be on serious point after this game is over. So they need to win 2 games in a row to win the whole thing. And will they do it? I don't know. I still think that they can, but it's going to be really, really tough. Something needs to change in the mantle, in the IGLing, in just everything.
Yeah, 100%. I think really, lag detected, unfortunately, Boxy, but I
Yeah.
think the biggest problem here for Kitura is when you look at a strategy, there's always going to be pros and cons to what you implement. I think Kitura, they're only looking at the pros really of their ideas, because when the cons are showing, it's very blatant that that's what's giving GB the upper hand. I mean, we take a look at the last set or the last round even of
Mhm.
C-Store. The major con for that wall charge plate was that until you detonate into tellers, you're funneling into green, which is never a good thing to do as an attacker. That is like one of the most challenging things to overcome as an attacking team. And GB played into that perfectly. They had people stack up in storage. EK was holding a deadly angle with the mop to get one of the first few picks of the round, if not the first pick. And if we don't have Kitura, especially moving into match number 3, if we don't see them analyze every nitty and gritty part of their strategy, especially on the attack, they are going to be in for an even worse ride than what we probably anticipated here today, Boxy, because on their defense, they aren't a bad team. But on the attack, that's where they really get punished, especially by a team like GB.
Exactly, and there we go. The red breach comes out, but Argo is just contesting with the auto shot. He will get one. SaChi will assist him with the second one. Argo swings for the third one, but Roach and Merchant actually even out the mank out. It's a 3v3 now, and even the HPs are just so very close. Only Roach has taken any damage so far. Kitura need to push though. Pleb gets one, and a second one. It's all up to Roach, and he hasn't been hitting his shots as of yet. That is game 2 for Global Breakout. And it's not even close, at least not this one. 7-4 to start it off, 7-1 to finish game 2 off, and it was a super fast one. Even most rounds ended in a minute tops. It really, we've only seen 1 or 2 rounds that kind of went to, full length through the last 10, 15 seconds. So Kitura seem to just be falling apart, and they need to pull it back. I think they're going to request a little bit of a longer break now. We'll see what happens. But if I were them, I would take as much time as I can to talk over what is going on, what is going wrong, and how we can fix it, because I believe they can, but it's a question of will they or won't they. Anyways, what do you think about this whole game? Sorry, what were we gonna say?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. No, I was waiting for the actual the handoff to be like, all right, fellow, what's your thoughts? Big
Yeah.
play-by-play guy. First off, again, might as well go take a look at stats before we get Echo back in the booth. Of course, he'll be joining us in just a few short moments. But I'd really like to know. I've been asking this question a lot because now that I've
Hmm.
had more and more experience talking to pro and more tier 3 and tier 2 teams in games like R6, you know, it really gets my mind going. What's the communication like?
Yep.
Because we talk about basics again, and maybe you don't go for the best implementation of your strategy, but a big thing about still getting that round win despite how poor your idea on paper is the execution. And a big thing to get that ball rolling early on, especially as an attacking team, is the communication. That's a huge thing. And for example, we go all the way back to factory like you were talking about, Boxy. I feel like no one communicated to have someone specifically watch that green door or even the window for another run out potentially, because that was a constant point of contention there for the defense. Maybe they called it out. No one's watching green door, somebody watching it, but everyone kind of thought, oh, someone else has got that. I'll stick to holding fan, which you should never have like 3 people just stacked up in fan, even when you're going for a charge play, unless you are completely ready to just dive bomb into the building. That is such a horrible idea most of the time when you're going for that. Going for a fan play altogether nowadays is also kind of a psychotic play, even when you have the range advantage. If you're gonna play for range, then 90% of the time you should just go for dock instead. But
Yep.
again, communication. I feel like it went away. Last match, it felt pretty decent by
Hmm.
Kitura. They made it back and forth, like I said earlier, 3-0, but then they bounced back with 2 immediate 2-1 splits. and it was 5-4 at one point, a single
Yeah.
round differential between Global Breakout and Kitura, and that exact same team, they feel gone. They feel lost essentially. And I mean, their stats, it's almost proven to be that point. Top
Yeah.
damage dealers from match 1 like Jet and Dylan are at the bottom of the barrel. They seem confused as to what's going on. And for Global
Yeah.
Breakout, exact polar opposite really.
I speak to Dylan quite often, and oftentimes after his match, he goes like, I ask him what went wrong, what went right, and he just goes, "Oh yeah, my IGLing got away from me. I just felt lost. I just couldn't do this or that, or I couldn't focus on this." And it seems like that is at least to some extent happening. I don't want to put the full blame on Dylan. You know, he is the IGL, but still, it takes an entire team to be faulty. It's not just. I don't think in this case it's just one cog. It's just the entire machine is a little bit rusty. And I don't know. I really, really hope Kitura can bounce. If GB win one more game, it's all over. They will win 3-1, and the one that Kitura have, the 1 point they have, is due to the actual, bracket advantage or map advantage or whatever you want to call it. So we only, or the teams rather, only opted for a 5-minute break, which means we better get Echo in here quick because we're gonna run out of time in a second. So Echo, you here? You are. Let's go.
Indeed. Okay, gentlemen, listen. Kitura, man. Okay, they're looking like they this time around they had the support roster on. I don't know what happened. They got to get the main players
Yeah.
back in there. They got to turn. I'm gonna tough love, that harsh love, especially for my boy Dylan. But honestly, I felt like I was watching a casual match. I felt like I was watching a
Oof.
team going up
Oof.
against a casual. Like you cannot tell me that you have a 5-man in your team. You are in the top bracket of pro play and no one is like, guys, maybe let's not funnel through a green door here on C store. Like, come on, someone's got to be thinking like you can't be doing that. It's just it's so irking because they've shown us that they have what it takes to be here, right? And they show they can make crazy plays, they can adjust and they can adapt. But this time around, I did not see any of that, bro. Everyone
Yeah.
was on auto. They're like in the Tesla and they had autopilot on, bro. They were sitting back, chillaxing. You can't be doing that against a team like GB. So we need to
Yeah.
see step it up in this game 3 if they don't want to just be kicked out right now. Like it's
You,
getting
you,
dire.
You know it's bad when all of this is coming from the biggest Kitura fan on the planet, possibly. I
Exactly.
think this
Exactly.
should be a wake-up call for the Kitura
Exactly.
boys, honestly.
For
But
real.
yeah, what are your thoughts on the match, Echo? You've been
Dude.
muted, but you watched the entire thing, and I don't know.
I, it hurt a little bit. I'm not gonna lie though. That was some crazy aggression coming out from GB. Like this time around, it's like they cranked the aggression skill up from like an 8 in game 1 to a 12 this time around. Like we had the wall charge in Kill House, the whole 5-man running in and they just clear it out. And it actually I don't know how the hell it worked. You'd think that they would have had a Molotov prep for it, but again, that kind of feels like some autopiloting because they're all kind of in that lockers area. You should be expecting something like that coming. And I don't know who it was, but I even saw someone at the Molotov, and I'm sitting there, I'm screaming at my screen, throw the Molotov, and no one throws it, and then they lose it. So they really need to start, realizing. We always say this every time anyone's casting GB, right? We're always saying they're an aggressive team. They like to take these crazy,
Yep.
sometimes unorthodox plays. You need to be expecting those. You got to plan accordingly. And I just really hope that Kitura shows that in this next game.
I honestly agree with you, fellow. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I gotta harp what you guys are currently singing, to be honest, because we've seen Kitura when they are successful. I mean, they beat the Gnomes to force them down in the losers bracket, and as Echo pointed it, basically made them their henchmen to try to deal with Global Breakout a second time during this major. Unfortunately, not the same ending for them, hence why GB is now up here in the grand finals. It's just that, again, no change. They did change, but not for the better. It was mostly for the
Mhm.
worse. They just again, I hate to talk about comms, but they seemed lost. They really did seem lost, and
Yeah.
especially in comparison to match 1 where even the stats were close between every single person. The 2 worst damage dealers were on the side of GB. So if you want to get super analytical, technically GB, they're being a top heavy team. But
Yeah.
now for Kitura, they're a bottom heavy team, which is even worse than having a top heavy team. I mean, it's just they just don't feel comfortable in what they're doing. They're just they're forcing themselves into a position where they're not going to thrive. I mean, like Echo said,
Yeah.
play into your strengths. We've been saying that throughout this entire broadcast. I mean, Kitura, you should know better as well. Just do what makes you comfortable and just hope for the best at this point. Because even if GB is a better team than you still have a good chance to at least get a match on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, really, it's like you were saying with comms, especially that is like such a huge factor. We were saying that
Yeah.
we were clowning on GB before that. It's like some of these plays we were like, bro, like what's going on this time around? It felt like
Yeah.
everyone had music on blast and was just doing their own thing. And you just cannot
Yep.
let that happen this time around. But I am hearing that teams are in game. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to game three. This is it. Either GB keeps the crown, they're wearing it pretty on their head, sit on the throne, or maybe we'll see Kitura step it up and look to dethrone them. I'm going to throw it over to you, lovely casters, and y'all take it away from here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Echo. And, I feel like you didn't want to ask us for predictions for a couple of reasons. Yeah, I don't blame you, to be honest. I don't think you need to hear that from us at this point. Looks like
Yeah.
GB might be taking the bag here without really breaking much of a sweat. I mean, we were kind of theorizing that because we haven't seen Katura and GB face against one another. Yes,
Mhm.
that kind of leads to a bit of mystery in this grand final, but also that means we have no stats to play off of. And considering the track record of both Katura and Global
Mm.
Breakout, not just in this major but throughout their entire careers, that could definitely give the upper hand to Global Breakout. Katura, besides scrimming, they have had a pretty big break in terms of play since their matchup between the Gnomes, which was last week. So if they're not on their A game playing a ton of scrims against top teams, then they will begin to falter in basic stuff. I think they've been scrimming a lot. I think we even got to
Mhm.
watch a match actually for them a while back.
Yep.
So we know they've been vigilant on that, but maybe just not scrimming properly, even not doing the basic stuff. That also could be a big problem too. So if you're not
Yeah.
improving the right way, it's going to show. And maybe that's just kind of what happened. We've seen GB in their weakest point throughout yesterday and a good chunk of the rest of this week altogether too, not having a Kazo as a main player until the end bits of their losers finals. They were at their weakest spot, but now I feel like they're starting to grow back into their old global breakout where they were almost unstoppable in every which way. And honestly, for Katura, that is incredibly worrisome. And we're not seeing the old Katura that did good against Gnomes, or even the old Katura that did all right in match one.
Yeah, I know we're kind of running out of time, so I got to get this out quickly. But listening to both you now and mostly Echo earlier really gave me the idea for a discussion that I'm going to have later on. And it's how, for some reason, Kitura did, they beat Gnomes and they were doing so very well against them. It was a very tight match, but still Kitura came out on top. They were still really giving Gnomes run for their money, and they ended up prevailing. And then Gnomes and GB throughout the major have had two of arguably the closest games that had happened. But now that by transitive property, this should be much closer than it is, but somehow Kitura is just getting steamrolled by Global Breakout. So why is that? Is it just the playstyles, or?
I mean, potentially, again, not being able to play in a strength, that is a huge thing. We already see 3 instant
Ooh.
picks. EK,
Okay.
Domzi, and Plebdo off the rip. I mean, they're just running in like
Oh
we're on
no!
Normandy or something. We're back in World War II as there are just bodies being dropped instantly. What the hell is going on, Katura?
I really chose that time to have that discussion, but the only kill that Kitura got in round one was the trade between Pleb and Merchant and Pleb. They went back and forth, both killed each other, and that was the only kill that somehow Kitura managed to muster up to stop the flawless round from Global Breakout. And it's, you're already 2 games down. You've lost 2 games, and the last one was a wipe. Losing round one like this by an overly aggressive GB is just it will not do wonders for your mental. And I know I speak about mental a lot, and you've mentioned it in the past as well, but damn, man, I would hate to be Katura right now. They are just being
Yeah.
bombarded from all sides, and they have no answer for what's currently happening to them. And again, something needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, just charging into Doc. I wasn't able to get a lot of visuals on that last round. I was still loading into the queue, so I didn't look to see what the plan was like on the main map view. But I have a strange suspicion that there really wasn't much being drawn on the board for Katura. I could, of course, be wrong. I hate to be the guy who's just really beaten into Katura while they're down.
Hmm.
But sometimes you gotta listen to the truth, no matter how hard it hurts and how much it bleeds your ears to listen. So even at the end of the day, if Katura end up losing this, they are still a top team inside of due process, and they should still be able to hold their heads up high and just learn from the lessons that they've been given here today. I still think there is a chance for them to come back in a slight way, But to take the entire series overall, that's a completely different question we'll have to dissect
Yep.
if we even get out of match number 3 today, Boxy.
Definitely agreed with you. And, you know, like you said, they still may end up and most likely will end up falling under the foot of Global Breakout, but they still have proved themselves to be the best EU team throughout this major.
Oh,
Global
yeah.
Breakout has only NA players. Kitura is, I think, 4 out of 5 EU. So while they may come in second overall, they're still the best EU team. I think everyone, I would really love to see them play against Yakuza again. They've met up on round 1 of the brackets, and everyone before the major considered Yakuza to be the #1 team in Europe. Somehow, it was a 2-1, I believe, if not even a 2-0. I would have to check back actually on that. But Kitura got eliminated Yakuza early on in round 1, relegated into the losers bracket, and so I guess you have new kings after today, man. I don't know.
Technically, everyone has to lord over their own property, I suppose, at the end of the day. I thought we were going to have a vault play in action by GB because I've seen old videos of them where they actually have, like, EK just snipe in here. That was the old meta, though. Things have changed in the past, but it's still a nice sightline to hold. That cuts off a big chunk of lobby, and your manager player can still hold this angle, for example, along with the teller player. So it's not a bad idea to do that. But you do give a lot of map control away early on, especially if they just bombard inside a vault. So a risky play, not going to be confirmed here. What will happen, though, is a pretty big rush inside a lobby. Jet off screen, I believe it to be, was trenching their way with the Saber, perhaps?
No,
All the way in the
shotgun.
back of Vent, or, yeah, I think I was incorrect on that weapon play. That's my mistake. But Jet still to fall this early in the round. We talked about how well he did on match number 1 in terms of damage dealing. Having no impact on this round except giving away some util and some information to GB, that is a huge upset as the remnants here of Kitura try to just body their way in through manager. They'll get that small bit of map control, but they still have to go for the button play. And so far, Global Breakout, they are playing quite exceptionally well to try to stall this push inside a manager. Akaza will finally fall, and so does Argo. Some great shots landed in a few fractions of time. Merchant almost gets another on the round. Plebdo finally shuts him down, and Domzi gets rid of Muzi. Roach, the only one left to stand. He's stuck in the barbed wire, and Plebdo and Domzi, the tag team recovery to keep this round alive for Global Breakout. No chances for Kitura as they still have not found any success in match 3.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out, but you were so super into whatever you were saying at the time, and I was like, with how big this lobby and this map in general is, I really don't get why Jet is bringing a shotgun, the DL, into this round. And then after the blow, he threw out the smoke and he decided to go vent. And I was like, okay, I like that play, but little did he know that both Plebdo and Domzi, one with each AK, were literally looking at the vent. They were under the vent, one in each corner, excuse me. They were holding the crossfire. They just read that perfectly before Kitura even decided to do it. And the fact that they've just gotten Jet out so early, the shotgun was out, the flashbang was out, that just means that, you know, it was an instant disadvantage for Kitura, and then they just managed to snowball it even further. And like you said, it was a great tag team / crossfire effort from Global Breakout, but Kitura almost brought that back. It was a 3v3, if not a 2v2 for quite a while there. In the end, though, Global Breakout came out kicking, they prevailed, and like you said, it's a 2-0, and we are shaping up to have another perfect split for Global Breakout here, right? It's going to be a 3-0 again, very likely. It feels like Kitura have already used a lot of utility up. I'm not sure, but I don't think they have any Kleckers left. So, you know,
I don't
it's
think so.
not looking good for them right now, fellow. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And, you know, Global Breakout, they're doing their counting. They've managed to pass their elementary school math class. So I think they're pretty well aware that they have to funnel through office in this green door. So this is not going to be fun at all for Kitura. I mean, they've got Dylan the shotgun. I've talked about this briefly because we haven't seen Dylan a lot on the shotgun so far today, or at least a lot to note about it for the time being. But if you're going to go green, you've got to bring out the shotgun. So better to put it on Dylan than anyone else, in all honesty. But the fact you can, you know, wall bang through this wall here, for example, I think Kitura even spotted that out with their own drawing. That you know, there's a lot you're going to have to worry about this angle as well by the defense. You're signing your death warrant once you step foot inside a C-store through that green doorway, and I almost can guarantee that the defense of GB, they are well aware of that.
I 100% agree with you, and it's just a matter of how well they will hold this. Ikazu has been absolutely deadly on the mob today, and he will be holding it this round as well. Argo on the auto shot, he's just pulling all the stops there, as it is the last round of the split. So, you know, why not use the weapons? They'll be gone next round anyways. But I really want EK to find another entry heal. He's holding a very tight angle on the doors. Come through the process. There's no pixel peaks in this game, they said. But here we are.
No pixel peaks, only door peaks apparently, but I mean, that is threading the needle essentially, not able to find anything just yet. Argo might go big though, down goes Merchant, he's fully blinded, eventually traded off there. An explosive opening and now ended off with a burning flame as the Molly gets tossed. And now be a back away here by Kitura. Domzi going for a second Molly toss though. That can be a great way to rotate around, buy some time, and fully understand how exactly the attacking side is gonna recover from this round. Jet has picked up the full auto, so 2 shotguns in play, but maybe not for long. Dylan's stuck in the Molly, he can't escape in time. He falls next to the green doorway between storage and offices. That is such a huge loss of life here. That brings back the man advantage for Global Breakout, and all they have to do is fall back, sit and look pretty, and just hold these key crossfires to make this a nightmare for the attacking side. It'll first be SaChi most likely again. Any type of tussle, gets rid of one, escapes Kellers narrowly with his life, and Plebdo's got the cleanup on a Jet. The full auto player now gone as well. 2 versus 4, and it is just a fatal funnel here by the attack. They'll try to flash out Plebdo. He is fully blinded, but can they extend in due time? It looks like they won't be able to. Still stuck inside of Tellers, and that will be their coffin for tonight. Plebdo with the final 3 of the round, and it's still nothing but net for Global Breakout.
Yeah, there's honestly not much to talk about. It's just Kitura. First of all, this round was a loss before it even started. You know, they were forced to go green, Global Breakout red into that. But do you just want to talk about how well this whole split went for Global Breakout? Their economy was still so good at the end of the split that SaChi could get on a short AK that no one would even miss because they haven't even died as much. And, you know, SaChi's always the player that just kind of flexes and fills whatever is needed. He's usually on the Grubers because no one else plays them. But now there were so many weapons left. It was a mop. It was the auto shotty on the board. It was 2 other AKs, and SaChi could actually bring out an AK, which is something that we've never seen before. I don't think I've ever seen him play an AK unless he picked it up later on in the round. But perfect split once again, and now Kitura are on defense. This has been their favorite side today, and I think throughout the major in general, can they at least get a few rounds on the board this time around? They've only gotten 1 last game, so the bar is set low. Even if they get 2, they'll do better than they have last game. Will it be enough to win? No. Will it be enough to even go to another game? No. But ending it on a 7-1 or a 0-0, I think is devastating. So if they can at least muster up those few rounds here, I think no one can fault them for not winning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel SaChi's pain having to Gruber a lot of the rounds. It is a pretty alright SMG
like
though. We did see him AK a couple of times in the match where Melvin and Shark commentated, but yeah, normally he just likes to bring out the weapons that no one else wants to play with. But at least now that we're on a clean slate for both sides, you can kind of bring whatever you want. Maybe not too much utility early on, as you still have all of Bank and all of C-Store to play with, so don't want to overcommit to anything. But hey, you and I love to joke about the wall charge plays that are implemented all the time by Global Breakout, and they are not going to shy away from that on round number 4. And this is a deadly wall charge play just for that verticality and the amount of sightlines you can gather against the defense. This is a brilliant idea just because of those positions you can hold as an attacker, and that gives you really good coverage of the bomb as well when you inevitably go for that defuse too.
Watching Global Breakout bring out the wall charge reminds me of the meme, you know, like, what you got there? A smoothie. It just gets me thinking of that one meme. It's like, it's smoothie.
Charlie, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that meme.
So it is. I still want to know though what they will go for. They could go green and then wall charge up from office, and I think that's what they go for. I don't think they waste another door charge on office here, so I don't think they double charge. I think they just kind of save both doors, save the clackers, and you know, yeah. Also, they didn't bring a door charge, so I could have just looked at the top. Anyways, Dylan and now Jet, who just rotated in, will be the first points of contact for Kitura there, and they need to either chunk a little bit of damage and then pull back, or just rotate out instantly. This is one of the times where if you're a Kitura player, you can fall off, and that is exactly what they will do. It's just no point in having 2 of your players contest 5 of them. You will get pushed out, you will die, and there's really not much you can do, especially with very little crossfire and refrag potential in the room. But now still a 5v5 with 80 seconds left in the round. What do they do, fellow? Where do they go from here?
Well, they've got to get control of Office. Clearly, Argo the first one to try to bounce in, and he gets ripped to shreds by Musi, who will still hold this key point of the map. I don't blame him at all. That's the idea of GB, to get inside of Office as quickly as possible.
Oh.
Plebdo will manage to run through the molly at just the right time, but can he kill Musi? He can! It even trade. There's full map control inside of Office now, and they can go for this wall charge play. Once the molly dissipates, it finally will do just that. Merchant with the Ingmar will tag some damage on a Plebdo. He's now 1 shot away from dying completely, but still being alive, he can be a force to be reckoned with that mid AK, which is not a gun you want to go up against, especially if you just have a Gruber, even though Plebdo is still, like I said, 1 shot away from falling. SaChi, the first one to spring right on in, gets rid of Jet. He's got backup from his team now. So much potential in the pockets of Global Breakout, and now it's EK to potentially step up to the plate. His teammate dies, but there's the refrag. Roach will fall just the same way as SaChi did a few moments prior. Only the Ingmar players of Dylan and also Merchant here. Dylan actually having the AK. He's stuck on the barbed wire. Merchant goes down. It's only Dylan, and he has to cross through the barbed wire no matter which entry point he decides to approach upon. And I think he's just going for the passive play of maybe killing someone after this defuse happens, or just saving that big AK for bank, perhaps. But man, what an aggressive round win to seal the deal for GB. Domzi may have fallen, but EK is still alive. Can he pick off Dylan? That's the big question, or at least save over the Saber. He'll go for the passive play and fall back. That will guarantee they have the Saber for these next 2 rounds and a 4th round in their back pocket already.
Yeah. Once again, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought this was a Kitura round. GB started off well, but it's still, Plebdo was on low HP. SaChi also got killed pretty early on. He did get one before, but still, it looked like it was kind of evened out. And then GB, just with their sheer positioning and utility usage, they somehow managed to win their ones. EK even managed to save the Saber, like you said. So overall, not only did they win the round, they also, won economy-wise. Dylan does have the AK at least, which is something, but I think it's too little too late. 4-0 here on the clock. And I just want to point out the fact that we didn't get to talk about during the game, but Domzi, if you've seen him on the map view, he was holding the flank in Surfer Armor. He was holding it really passively in a super nice tucked away corner, and then as soon as they breached Office, he started pushing out because he knew that no one was going to contest him there. The angles were clear. I just really like the coordination and communication between GB in that specific round. But we're on bank. It's 4-0, and it's probably going to be a 5, if I'm totally honest. I know Echo's crying in the background. He's muted, but I can hear him sobbing as it's all ending for Kitura. The time is ticking out, and they have yet to find an answer to any of GB's aggression in the past 2 games, fellow.
Yeah, I mean, this is not what you want to have happen, You go into a grand final game, and you expect an even bout between these 2 teams, and we were kind of gifted that on match 1, but now we've seen that fire in Kitura just kind of die out. I feel like they've almost given up completely at this point. I mean, yeah, it's such a big thing to try to claw back from and, get the victory overall to really prove the point that you have earned that finalist position here at the major, but they are just, their armor, it's just simply cracking at this point. And GB, they keep doing more and more blows to it. It's just the armor is eventually going to break, and they're going to end up getting a fatal blow received to them. So it's so upsetting for Kitura at this point. And I mean, their mental, if it hasn't been broken earlier in the match, I can almost guarantee after the second half, it is going to be completely gone.
Yeah, Kitura, though, pulling one out of GB's shred book, they will have Roach follow Nargo's footsteps. He will play the auto shot in the corner, but it won't end up mattering because almost everyone, actually everyone from GB is just going to go vent. They will eco this one out, and they already have control of hallway and loans, and Kitura doesn't seem very well aware of it. They're still waiting for the breach. Roach is still waiting on those main doors, but he hears the amount of fire going on right next to him in hallway, and he will have to make a choice to rotate out and be useful with the auto shotty. But now Global Breakout has control of security, and they know where Roach is. They know he has the auto shotty, and they know how to play around it accordingly. Roach does push in, but doesn't actually quite find any. Excuse me. Argo, though, will take him out early on. That is a refrag from Muse onto Domzi, but I still think getting rid of the auto was just so impactful. Pleb just sprints in the lobby, though, takes out both Jet and Dylan. Merchant finds one, is immediately refrag, though. It's all up to Merchant, actually. Sorry, Muse God, refrag. Anyways, 1v3 here, and we're gonna be very close to match point. The Merchant loses this. There we go, doesn't even find one. It's SaChi that closes it off. And English hard, excuse me. But less than a minute this round lasted, fellow. Less than a minute, and everyone on Kitura was dead when GB ecoed on bank. Please let that sink in. There was actually no time for me to even make a handoff and give it to you, my trusty play-by-play caster. The action just started in the first 15 seconds, and then in the next 30 seconds, everyone was just eliminated. There's really not much that Kitura are doing right now. It honestly feels like a casual match, and Echo just really, enclosed this perfectly earlier on. But what are your thoughts? Is there even anything to say at this point?
Man, why did no one tell Jet Domzi
Bro.
was still in security? He just he just forgot about him, man. He ran in and yeah, he got a pick, but the full auto, it's such a good gun. If you can one for one trade a super weapon like the Saber or a mop, and like I just said a second ago, the full auto, that's a win in your book, and you already have so much map control in your back pocket as well. It really didn't matter that it was just simply one trade. GB had already accomplished so much in such little time, a minute to play with, like you mentioned, after already securing the vault and killing everyone on the board for Kitura. I mean, again, it's just basics being missed out on and opportunities not being seized at all. It's sad. It is sad and to an extent almost disappointing for Kitura because we've seen them do better. Match 1, they gave us a pretty good showing, and now they're not the same. It really does feel like the benched players, the B team in your practice games, it feels like those are the ones playing now. Echo highlighted that perfectly, and it's sad that he was so on the money with that point.
It feels like they just really gave us their literal everything, literally their all in game one, and when that wasn't enough, they were just broken. Their tank was empty, and there was no coming back from that throughout the series. And it's 5-0. I was saying at least win a few rounds, please. Get those few rounds in, so it's not a 7-0 finish to what was an extraordinary run through the upper bracket throughout the entire major. But it may just come true, fellow. It may just be a 7-0 to finish it off. So that would mean that our score line went default win for Kitura, and then 7-4, 7-1, and 7-0, at least if we keep heading in this direction. And honestly, while Kitura were the insane underdogs, we were discussing this earlier, and I want to return to this later, it just feels so bad that GB are not even giving them a chance to breathe here on the third game.
Rule number 150. Don't even need to say it here. If you
No
know,
time.
you know.
No
Yeah,
time.
well, now if you didn't know, now you really know. Yeah, tub time here for Merchant and Jet. I actually like the tub, to be honest.
You're
But
dead to me.
all right, well, nothing's changed clearly, but yeah, tub. It's a pretty unwieldy weapon sometimes, depending on who you ask. But we're not going to see any tub action just yet. It's mostly that molly being tossed out up inside of the actual building itself here, near offices, with the green push being attempted for the most part by the attack of GB. You also have this freezer tape being attempted here. Great shot by EK with that mob, really putting in the extra damage on a Dylan. Your player in bathroom has now fallen. Jet's in a pretty precarious position as well. Argo with the full audio might be able to take him down, and there goes your tub player. Rule number 150, it's showing in true colors as the rest of Kitura will fall in such a quick fashion. Musi inside a teller, his position well known. He swings out and finds one, but to no avail as the round is still a win. And I think with that being said, the game is not technically over just yet. I think you need all 3 full points, but worst case scenario here for GB, they tie and then only need 1 more tie to end out this series entirely. I don't think Kitura are going to be able to even do that. I don't think they can muster enough power to win 6 rounds in a row against these titans of Global Breakout.
I think tying this was enough, but I think we're just gonna play this one right out because you have 2.5 points, which actually, huh?
I think you need the full 3 because we had this discussion in our Scuff cast, and then also Shark and Echo had this conversation too on I think like one of the finalist matches.
No. So GB won 2, and so GB won 2. If they tie it up, yeah, that means that so we do actually need to win this one out fully, but
Yep.
regardless, we can prematurely say GG, and it doesn't feel premature at all. It's 6-0 for Global Breakout. They show no signs of stopping. Even when, you would expect Global Breakout to kind of do a few meme-ish rounds right now because they have such a huge colossal advantage. They just seem that they're keeping their foot on the gas. They're just steamrolling through Kitura. They're not even going to give them this one round. They're just going to go for total humiliation, and they will win 7-0 to finish off not only the game, not only the series, but the DP Winter Major.
And to think that yesterday's game went to double overtime too, and this game is like not even going to go to a fourth match. I mean, god damn, what a difference, night and day, quite literally. You think it would be like the opposite, like yesterday
Yeah.
would be a blowout between Gnomes and Global Breakout, just based off the fact it's the losers finals. Nope.
And
They played to their fullest, and I
this
wish I could say the same for this game, but nope,
Well,
not at all.
Echo wrote a bad script, But I was gonna
I
comment on
guess
this. If
so, man.
if GB were doing bad, like we could have said it would have been a good talking point. Like, they've had to play a double OT best of 3 today. They have a best of 5 tomorrow, or rather today now. But for some reason, for some ungodly reason, they're the ones that are actually steamrolling. Kitura, though, had the day off yesterday. They had the time to scrim, time to prep, even maybe a day off. Who knows how they prepped and what they did? But it just feels like GB should be at least a little bit fatigued after the season they've had and then the major round that they've had. And they, like I said, had to play an overtime, double overtime, best of 3 yesterday. So on paper, they should be the ones that are exhausted, but they just go full swing against Kitura on and on again. And Roach will be the first one that takes a little bit of damage. Argo, though, will take some as well. And now he's just going back into the lockers, which will get breached. Roach, just getting pinched out. The molly comes out. It will not be enough, though. As Pleb gets the entry once again, it's no surprise anymore. It's a 5v4 off the bat once again for Global Breakout as they look to close the series.
And I mean, the confidence is peaking here. Argo rocking double nades, toss them out both in tandem. That's going to leave a pretty open here for Kitchen itself. A huge opening, I should have said. My mistake. Merchant tries to hold off the point here, but cannot do it. Neither can his comrades. 4 versus 2. Dylan and Musi, the lone souls, to try to keep their team alive. This round is the most important round they've had in their career. And can they clutch it out? A flank could be attempted, but Musi has to back up his teammate. And they both fall to Plepto, one of the best players considered in this entire game, will be the final player to secure kills for Global Breakout. They are already celebrating before getting that defuse fully confirmed, and they have most certainly earned it today. 7-0 to end out the series, 3-1, and the only match we saw that was granted to Kitura was a petty advancement victory for not losing in the upper bracket at all. That is such a kick in the head, but goddamn, did Global Breakout impress today.
They've definitely been doubted throughout the major, even by us at some point. They've branded me a traitor earlier yesterday because I said that without EK, who wasn't playing game 1 yesterday, they would probably be losing to Gnomes. And by the way, that did end up happening. So, But I don't know. Many have doubted GB, and I have been on that train for maybe a match or two, but they still, they came out swinging. They proved they are on top currently still, and that there is no real contending them. When they get the starting lineup out, when they actually have their IGL playing with them, they are still the best team, and losing to Gnomes was nothing but a mere fluke. They are on top, there's no denying it, and it's going to stay that way, and it's up to the other teams to rise up to the challenge that Global Breakout poses at the moment. But let's take a look at stats again, shall we?
Yeah, to maybe see what went wrong, perhaps, for Kitura. I mean, yeah, that looks about right.
Unfortunately. This was a quick game when Pleb barely peaked 1k damage.
999, Jesus Christ.
Didn't have the time to,
Literally almost securing that, but just not able to.
I think, though, the last round didn't get recorded because it said 6-0. So I think because the other team, one of the teams left the server like as soon as it was over, before the round was over. So I think we just have stats for 6 rounds. Also, all of the players besides Dylan have died only 6 times, not 7. So Pleb did barely peak the 1k damage. He got 2 in the last round, if not even 3. But still, if Plepto only drops 1k damage, it's not because he would play badly. It's because he didn't have the time. to shoot more people.
Yeah, I mean, that was just that was a game to behold. I mean, us being really close to Global Breakout as not only just, comrades and people who we play with, they are genuine friends of ours. And it's bittersweet to have this victory end out the way it did because I'm pretty close with a couple people on the side of Kitura as well. I love
Yeah,
hanging out with
agreed.
Dylan. Jet's pretty fun to play with in 10 mans. He always loves to do funny plays that either work completely or fail miserably, but they're always fun to do. And at the end of the day, you play the game to not only just win, but even have fun in certain
Yeah.
ideas that you're implementing here. Merchant's
Okay.
always a blast. Like I love all 10 players here on the board for both Kitura and GB. I mean, that's just the community is
Mhm.
great. And speaking of
I
community, I think as we get Echo on here, there is one thing that we have been saving, maybe best for last. No, it's not going to be the interview. It's going to be a little note to somebody, to a friend of ours who actually got a year older today. Or yeah, no, technically today because they made a message about it at
It is
midnight.
today.
The
It
other night,
is today.
it's going to be Haley. Maybe we're not going to sing happy birthday, of course. Might be a little bit embarrassing for us. We're not the best singers here up in the booth, but we're going to mention it.
Speak for yourself.
We love giving back to the community any way that we can. So today, it's your special day. We hope you enjoyed watching DPL today and seeing GB win 3-1. Hope you have a very happy birthday and to probably talk to you after the broadcast because I bet you'll have a lot on your mind after hearing that.
Yeah, and not just it's her birthday, by the way, it's her 20th birthday. It's a special one. It's the
Yeah.
big 2-0. So,
Ooh.
Happy birthday. Thank you for being our friend. Thank you for being a part of our community. I really hope it's a good one. And, just we love you. So, Echo, you're here with us, though.
Yeah, quickly, as a 20-year-old myself, nothing changes, man. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's another year, bro.
It's the
Nothing
most
changes,
blue
man.
ball year you can have.
For real.
We
For
made
real.
it so sweet, and then Echo comes and he's like,
Listen, I'm in a
20
bad
sucked.
mood, man. If I don't get to be happy, no one gets to. Okay.
okay.
That being
makes
said,
sense.
man, you know it was quick when like the only thing I have written down is that once again we just saw Kitura kind of fall back so much. I felt like I was watching like a 8-bit Dying Light gameplay, bro. It's like you just see like Dylan and the others are just
A lot of
sprinting
dying.
through the map. Oh, that too, yeah. They're just sprinting like they're about to do some parkour on the map. Like, no, bro, you gotta face them head on. But yeah, no, I mean a very, very dominant victory coming out from GB once again. They have absolutely earned their spot on the throne. They got almost knocked out week 2, so pretty much almost at the start they clawed their way back, they fought their way to the top, and they get to remain there. And like Boxy said, we're gonna have to wait for someone else to pull up and try and dethrone them again. It hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt a little bit
So,
though.
Gotta agree. A little lag check that you're from Boxing.
Yep.
He'll be back. It's all right.
hello,
Honestly,
hello.
little to no lag. Yeah, you're back. You
This
lagged, like,
happened so little
handful of
today.
times? Yeah.
My camera hasn't been cooperating, but I think I only lagged out once or twice. So just to kind of put it in frame for you, Echo, to help you out there, it's
And my name's been spelled on there too. Let's go.
hell yeah. I you know the challenge, the slide that we have our bracket on for the DPL major.
Yeah.
People could do their predictions there, and it was 17 or 18 people who've done their predictions, and I just kind of went back and I really checked out those predictions, and I knew Kitura were the underdogs, but I had no clue they would be such big underdogs. 3 people had them going out in round 1, lower round 1, that is, obviously. 8, 9 people said they would be going out in round 3 or 2. 1 person said they would be going out in lower semis, and then 5 people said that they would actually make it all the way to lower finals and then lose there. While GB, 4 people said that they would lose in grand finals, and then the other 14 people, excuse me, I can't count, said that, GB would win this one. So Kitura were such huge underdogs. Our EU brothers, at least mine. I know you guys are both American, but
hey, I'm half German too.
you're half German. Okay, so you're half brothers, my EU brothers. They put on a hell of a show, and they put on a hell of a show, and no one expected them to make them this far. There was literally not a single person that predicted them to make the grand finals, and they, proved everyone wrong. They still have the best EU have to offer, but NA is just stronger. North America dominance is, still a thing in this game, and it's probably going to be for quite some time, to be completely honest with y'all. But it should really just be a wake-up call for other teams, like we've mentioned previously. So don't feel bad for Kitura. feel great that they've gotten this far. I honestly think this is a win for both teams, and
Mm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
it's like you said, they had such a long journey, and just the fact that so many people, like I was saying in the intro as well, they counted them out just in the first game itself when it looked like, they were going to be thrown out of this match. Why are they giving me the GB symbol? Hold on now. I'm just seeing it right now in the stream preview. They're giving me okay,
Getting
nah,
ready for interviews,
that's just,
Echo.
that's just cheeky. That's true. But yeah,
Now,
we'll get,
now your true colors have shown, but I
dude.
think we're just
Yeah.
getting ready for the interviews.
Yeah, we
So
are waiting for the interviews to get around. We'll get to that slowly. But yeah, like you were saying, I mean, honestly, Kitura can still be immensely proud of themselves that they even like that they got to this point. They fought so hard, overcame so many hardships, and it can really only go up from here. And unlike GB,
yeah,
who can just be dethroned and it can only go down, it can really only go up for Kitura.
yeah. Once you're the top team, all eyes are on you, all expectations are on you, and once you have a bad game or a bad series or a bad tournament, you disappoint your fans, you kind of empower your haters, and like I hope you guys know what I'm trying to say here. Help me out.
I,
Yeah, no, I mean, I talked about this, I think it was during the Scuffed podcast or Scuffed cast. We haven't gotten the podcast yet. Hopefully we can though after casting grand finals. That'd be pretty fun to do. Anyways, I think I talked about during the Scuffed cast we had Boxy where I mentioned, everyone's out to get you when you're the top
Mhm.
team. It's only a matter of time for someone ends up backstabbing you, and we saw a bit of blood actually being dropped and being shed by GB when they played against Gnomes for the first time. But they adapted, they evaluated what went wrong, and they understood teams are improving. So now we need to up the pace a bit too to remain that one step ahead of the opposition. And they did that in the losers finals. They did whatever it took besides, ratting for cheeky rounds and cheeky rulebook plays because we definitely need to change DPL rules when we go into the main season. A bit dated. They didn't do that in the losers finals. Instead, they had, EK be the real IGL of the situation and kind of take control of what cards he had to play with, literally and figuratively, as gambling had a lot to help with that. Funny enough, for any of you knowers, um, so uh, they made the steps to remain on top, but for
yeah,
how long will they be able to do that? I think that'll be the big question going back into the main season.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with again, I think it was Doodler yesterday, and it was he was saying I hate, the dominant storylines. I think they're boring. But then again, the longer that they last, the better it is when they end, right? And that's probably not
Yep.
something we should be talking about as we celebrate GB's win. But I'm just saying,
Yeah, watch out for
once you're
Open.
on top, yeah, it's super hard to stay on top, and the more you win, the harder it is to keep winning. So props to GB, and hopefully they can do it again. But we'll see. I do think the teams will get ready for them for the next DPL season, which has been announced, by the way. Check that out because we'll catch you on there soon. And I'm just checking to see if we have the. I don't believe so yet. So,
Yeah,
Echo,
no, it's still
you
gonna
want to
take a
take over?
second before they are ready for the interview. But yeah, like you were saying, I mean, it's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get bigger from here on out. Now, Couture as well. They tasted a bit of blood, and they're definitely gonna want their revenge when we get into that kind of main season area. But with that being said, I mean, that is the end of the DPL major, and we'll get into interviews shortly before we close everything out. But we will have to say goodbye to our lovely casters. So, fellow Boxy, thank you guys so much for making this night, day, wherever your time zone is, a absolute memorable one. And unless you two have any other closing statements, we'll throw it to a break, and then we'll be back with the interviews.
I do have one before we
Okay,
break.
okay,
Oh,
I think might
oh,
as well, why don't shout ourselves out a little bit? Why not, right? Yeah, I
yeah,
think I think we earned it. So
I
it's
feel that. I feel that.
oh,
okay.
oh, okay. I thought we were going to break. I thought
Oh.
Gundam was gonna troll us. I was like, oh no, Gundam, no, not like this. Uh, well, at Fellacaster on Twitter for me if you want to check that out, and at This Is Boxy for Boxy. Echo, I bet when you get back, you'll be able to shout yourself out
Yeah,
as well. So
absolutely, yeah.
enjoy the interview, man. You did a hell of a job hosting. But
Thank
that
you, man.
does conclude it for the Foxy cast today. We hope to see you all for the regular season. That's when we'll be back in action here for due process. But other than that, hope you all have a great rest of your time here today with DPL and to stick around for the interviews with both SaChi and Dalton.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We're here for the DPL interview segment. I'm just noticing that it says Boxy, but I'm joined here by Domzi and SaChi, the two of the kings, dare I say, of a GB, who just took a very nice, stunning victory. Well done, guys. Okay, first of all, I gotta ask. Here I'll go with Chief for this one. So
Yep.
2 weeks ago, right after you guys get
Mhm.
knocked out by Gnomes, were you guys at any point ever kind of worried that this might be it? This might just be the season where you guys are dethroned.
Uh, Not necessarily like in the front of our minds. It was kind of in the back of our minds because there's been like I know it's kind of a meme, but I think we've dealt with a ton of adversity. I mean, just listen to my mic. This happened. Like literally, we're warm up scrimming, and 20 minutes before the game, I hear a click, and my microphone just dies. I have no audio, and like I'm just scrambling. I have 5 headsets on right now to make this work because
Oh
like my
my god.
computer wasn't recognizing software. We've had my internet struggle. We've had people just not showing up to our scrims. We've had EK's power going out in a snowstorm in Tennessee of all places. Him driving to a hotel. Us like just like not scrimming for a while. That's our own like fault, obviously. But
Well,
we were obviously rusty for like a long time, and we're still trying to get back to where we were. But
it's nice to see you guys overcame all of that. I gotta ask real quick when it comes to Argo, right? What is the
mhm.
process like grooming him to be a rat? Okay, like I'm gonna just be real. What is it like? Kind of, you're giving him the auto shotgun and just be like,
I,
"Yo, find your favorite corner and just chill."
I don't think Argo needs any grooming. I think he's a
Yeah.
naturally built rat. I think he came into the team ready to play shotguns. He came in ready to play close angles. He's good at it, so it's like why not let him run free, let him do whatever.
Okay. Natural born rat. I like the yeah. Everyone's got a purpose to play. So nice that he found his. Now I do gotta say, in the chat, especially during these games, a lot of people were already spamming after like game two that it was over before it began. Did you guys also kind of feel like after game two that it was pretty much over? Or was there you guys still a little wary?
I'm gonna answer this first because
Right.
Domzi's about to go off the rails, and we all
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
First and foremost, he is not affiliated with the team anymore. He is not on the roster.
That
Second
is
off,
true. That is true.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
second off, I mean, like you kind of need to feel like that. Like every time you're playing, like this is always your game. It's always your game. We're always going to win this game. You have to feel like that. Like, and that's not saying to take the gas off. Like take the pedal off the gas, like pump the brakes. No, you obviously have to keep the intensity, but at the forefront of everything, you have to feel like, all right, this is our game. It's not their game, it's our game. There's nothing they can do about that. It's our game. Play our game to the best.
Main characters, huh?
Yeah, honestly, for my view on things, when I saw their
Mm,
roster loading in, I knew the game was over.
okay.
Uh, I knew
Here
the
we
only game they were gonna get was the one that they were given for free by coming from winners. Honestly, even the gnomes thing, we lost to them. I wasn't concerned at all. I literally felt nothing. I felt nothing in that loss because I was like, okay, we get to make a losers bracket run sick. Like I was like sick. The winner team's gonna get a free round and that free game, and that's the only game they're gonna get for the entire set. So it's fine.
Okay. Were you surprised at all when they kind of got those first 4 rounds in game one, or did you just like, okay,
Not
they
at
got too
all.
much to
We
lose?
were coming from a warm up scrim 4v5. Pleb didn't even play the warm up scrim. She disconnected from the warm up scrim. So I literally considered that first game. I considered our warm up scrim, and I was like, oh sick, we won 7-4 warm up scrim. Time to play these next two. And I knew they had no stamina because like half of the players in due process, they can't shoot back. So they had no stamina late in the run. After first game, those 4 rounds. Not gonna lie, I kind of figured we'd 7-0 the next two, but we did lose a round in between. But 21-5, pretty decent ratio. I can deal with that.
Okay. And that being said, Dumsy, we already touched on it a little bit, but the rumors are true. You are indeed retiring, so it
That is
must feel
true.
good to be winning the major and being able to just, kick back, put your feet up, and watch
Yeah,
everything else burn around you.
I was planning on retiring win or loss. Of course I wanted the win because I'm a competitor at heart. All I want is the win. That's all I'm focusing towards. But uh, you know, I just have other things to do. I have other things I want to put my effort towards. I have other things I want to put my skill towards. So at the moment, due process is not where I'm finding, the player base isn't at its, isn't swelling in the way that I'd like it to in order for the game to succeed. That kind of comes down to the devs and the game price and, things of the sort. I won't get too into that, but in general, I just felt like, me leaving the scene now, especially coming off a win feels great.
Okay, Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, Chi, I want to know, so especially in game two, right? We really saw just, I feel like you guys turned, and also the casters were saying this well, you guys really turned the aggression up from like a 9 to a 12. Was that intentional, or was that just more of like a byproduct of you guys kind of
I mean,
having that feeling that you guys will win this no matter what?
I didn't have game sound anyway, so like the real thing was like, why not just like turn it
Send
up
it.
to 11? Like we're not hearing them if we react to stuff. So
Okay, I feel okay. I feel that. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I have one final question. This mainly just for Chi, since this will really only impact you. Do you believe we will be seeing the fall of GB anytime soon?
it really comes down to how much work we put in and how much work the other teams put in. They're getting better and better as you've seen throughout this, and
Okay.
And now to
we
answer
obviously
for
want.
you, since I'll be in the background of this whole operation, no, not anytime soon.
Well, there you go. You heard it. He's calling you. Domzi he just sent you an invite. All right, you gotta take these guys down. They might be riding a little too high on their horse. They're the main characters right now. If you don't want to be a side character, you got to put in the work and get to it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for the interview segment. Congratulations on yet another win, another stellar performance.
Thank you so
And
much.
with that, thank you all for watching. We hope that you enjoyed, and hopefully, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.